Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, everyone. All summons have Sss-Level talents. Chapter 1. Fanyan City, Number 2 High School. Dear students, no matter what type of occupation you are in, as long as you are willing to work hard, you will have the opportunity to get ahead. Your start now will not determine your future achievements. On the podium, the head teacher Lu Wen, who looked to be in his 30s, said, 100 years ago, the game came into reality, and Blue Star has since connected to the planes of the heavens. The world has undergone drastic changes, countless creatures have mutated and evolved, and hostile racial civilizations have invaded. In such an era, almost everyone in society respects the strong. If you want to achieve class transition, you can only become stronger. The unified job transfer that the country prepares every year is the only opportunity. All teenagers and girls who are above the age of 18 and in high school will be able to participate. Everyone is full of excitement and hopes to become a rare professional and a strong person that attracts everyone's attention. But the fact is that almost 80% of people are disillusioned. Many students even obtain life occupations that have no fighting ability at all. We in Daxia spend huge resources every year to hold unified job transfers in all schools to help you get a career. The purpose is very simple. Just to let more people have the opportunity to realize their potential, never bury the gold. I got the news that the threshold for the college entrance examination will be raised tomorrow, and the passing line will be 100 points higher than before. However, this also means that those who rank higher will receive more generous rewards. So you should adjust your condition when you go back. Don't hesitate to spend money on equipment and skills, otherwise you will miss the college entrance examination and regret it for life. Under the podium, a group of people were immersed in joy and looked excited. Show each other their careers to the classmates next to them. Many students were downcast, their eyes dim, and the atmosphere was polarized. Sitting on the window seat, Chen Lin held his head with one hand, his face a little absent-minded. Unexpectedly, he is also a time traveler. Just after changing jobs, the memories buried deep in Chen Lin's mind emerged like unblocking them. If not, he might have had the same emotional ups and downs as other students. Chen Lin. At this time, the pretty girl in the front row turned around, her eyes apologetic, and she slowly said, I'm sorry, the college entrance examination is too important. This is the only chance for ordinary families like ours to climb up the social ladder. Lu Liang agreed to team up with me, so I'm sorry, you can find someone else. Chen Lin looked slightly startled, then he remembered what was going on. The two have always been in a similar position since they were in high school, and they often communicated and talked. Therefore, when they were about to change jobs, they agreed to enter the dungeon together for the college entrance examination. Both of them had a good impression, so Chen Lin naturally did not refuse. Now you see that he changed his job as a summoner and is a bit weak, so you regret it. If it were before, Chen Lin would still be dissatisfied because it would be more difficult to form a team now. In particular, his summons are relatively weak. It seems that the whole school knows this. However, he is very calm now. The awakened memory is equivalent to letting Chen Lin live an extra lifetime. On the surface, there is no change, but his state of mind has been completely changed. No problem. After hearing such a simple answer, the girl's face showed surprise. She thought Chen Lin would be very angry and was prepared to explain a few more words to eliminate his concern. But why don't you seem to care at all? Thinking of this, the girl suddenly felt unhappy. After silently looking at Chen Lin's face, which was indeed emotionless, she apologized again and then turned back. The girl on the side said in confusion, Xiaoyan, you did nothing wrong in the first place, why are you so humble? He has now become a summoner. How can he be worthy of being a member of your class? Besides, his summons are still very weak. Haha, a dog the size of a palm, what kind of fighting power can this have? It's not just me, everyone else also laughed. It's embarrassing to the class. I asked a lot of people, and they all concluded that Chen Lin is useless. If we team up with him, we won't be able to pass the college entrance examination. Then look at Lu Liang. He got a rare profession, Heavy Lance Knight, with excellent output and damage resistance. Moreover, his family still has money, and even the teacher next door thinks he has a bright future. What does Chen Lin compare to others? Zhang Yan's brows relaxed, and the sullenness just now disappeared. After listening to her best friend's analysis, she was even more sure that she had not made the wrong choice. The college entrance examination is a threshold to enter the class, she must pass it. Even if you do it to make people disgusted, it's okay. Don't worry, Xiaoyan, my dad bought a third-level skill book. As long as I understand it, I'm sure to win the college entrance examination tomorrow. Even if we are ranked among the top 100 in the city, we can still compete. Really, it's amazing. After the words fell, Zhang Yan was a little surprised, and his moist eyes lit up. Of course, Lu Liang raised his chin with a proud expression. His eyes were vaguely looking towards Chen Lin. Have you seen it? This is the gap. In the past, Chen Lin was very popular with the opposite gender because of his fair skin, handsome face, and top 3 grades every year. Now, after switching to a rare profession, he finally got to experience it. It's cool, it's really cool. Wow, a third-level skill book seems to cost at least more than 100,000, right? This is still a top-quality book in the third level, and the price is doubled. My family also spent a lot of money to finally buy it. As the college entrance examination approaches, many wealthy families begin to raise prices to grab equipment and skill books. In today's society, the status of professionals is getting higher and higher, and no one wants their descendants to enter universities. Can you take me with you, Lu Liang? I'm willing to do anything. After looking at his best friend sitting next to Zhang Yan, Lu Liang refused directly. He's not as good looking as Zhang Yan, so why is he wearing one? ... Ignoring the words around him, Chen Lin waited until the bell rang and walked out of the classroom silently. On the way home, he first went to the meat section of the vegetable market, hesitated for a moment, and bought a steak. Carrying the bag, I looked for a place where no one would disturb me, my thoughts moving slightly. Suddenly a white light flashed in front of him, and a young black wolf appeared on the asphalt road. Ouch! The black wolf let out a long roar towards the blue sky, but the strength was too weak and it sounded a bit milky. As if realizing that there was no enemy, it blinked and immediately trotted closer to its owner. Woof! The black wolf waggled its tail from side to side and squatted beside Chen Lin's feet, wanting to rub against it but not daring to do so. Why did he feel that his summoned creature, Yazi, was a bit not very smart? Chen Lin shook his head helplessly. He took the steak in his hand and stretched it out. I've been hungry for a long time, let's eat something. Woof! The black wolf understood the meaning and feasted on it, biting off small pieces in one bite. The teeth are pretty good. Chen Lin smiled. Ever since the black wolf was summoned, it had been looked down upon. The head teacher who originally had high hopes for Chen Lin also felt sorry for this. As the summoner, Chen Lin knew better that the little black wolf had not been wrong. Compared to all summons, it is as weak as an ant. If ranked, it would probably be at the bottom. Although the summoner profession is very technical, combat basically relies on summoned objects. From this point of view, Chen Lin is equivalent to breaking off his hand at the beginning, which is almost the same as before changing jobs. But he doesn't intend to give up just like that. He wants to control his future choices instead of being controlled by them. As long as you can enter the school, you will have time to slowly develop. When you reach level 10 and summon for the second time, there will still be a chance for a reversal. Chen Lin thought silently in his heart. He didn't want to live a mediocre life, especially after accepting the memories of his previous life. This idea became even stronger. But without the advantage of the summoner, without any help from combat power, and the passing line for the college entrance examination happens to be raised, it is almost 99% impossible to succeed. Looking at the young black wolf that was eating, Chen Lin sighed silently and touched it with his palm. Just when he touched it, a voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Detection starts. What's going on? Chen Lin looked around and found no one, and his thoughts suddenly exploded. Could it be Goldfinger? Is the traveler package real? Chen Lin accepted it quickly. According to the situation, he had indeed traveled through time, but his memory had fallen asleep. 100% loyalty, never betray. Do you want to make a natal connection? After thinking for a moment, Chen Lin decided yes. As his thoughts were confirmed, the sharp pain of tearing his soul came instantly. Hiss! Caught off guard, Chen Lin took in a breath of cold air, felt numb all over, and fell to his knees on the ground. Suffering indescribable terrible pain, he fell to the ground unable to support his body, his face gradually turned pale, and drops of sweat continued to flow down his face. Chen Lin gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, his nails digging into his flesh. Not making a sound was the limit he could do. What's going on? Is he okay? Hey, if you don't look at what day it is today, you probably can't bear the shock of changing your job to a career. Hey, speaking of this, my good son from No. 1 middle school has obtained a combat career and will be very successful. Lao Guo, is it true or false? Can I lie to you? It's like being called a fighting master. Quote. Two people who happened to be passing by were talking to each other, and the unfamiliar voices became farther and farther away. Chen Lin struggled to get up, feeling the pain slowly dissipate. Then an invisible force melted toward the black wolf, and a voice appeared in his mind again. The souls have been merged, and the connection of natal lives is completed. Congratulations, your summon has awakened its unique talent, greed and gluttony SSS. Suddenly, Chen Lin's spirit perked up, his thoughts moved slightly, and a long transparent panel appeared. Summon. Unnamed. Type. Mutated wolf. Grade 1. Attributes. Strength 2, Constitution 3, Agility 3, Magic 1. Health. 100%. Skills. None. Talent. Greedy and gluttony SSS transform all swallowed food into energy, grow regardless of restrictions, and evolve beyond the shackles. After reading the panel, Chen Lin beamed with joy. This pain is not in vain. Looking at the entire Daxia, the number of people who have awakened SSS level talents can be counted on one hand. Every time one more person appears, the country will attach great importance to it and provide escort. The reason is naturally too powerful. More than 10 years ago, the defense line was broken, and the Xuanlong kingdom was driven in by an alien army. Tens of millions of people died, and large areas of the country were destroyed. In the end, only a monster who had awakened his SSS level talent managed to resist it. However, I always felt like something was wrong. Why is it that he was the one who paid the price, but the one who reaped the benefits in the end was the summoned object? Whose golden finger is this? Chen Lin leaned back tactically. Grabbing the back of the black wolf's neck, he pulled it in front of his face. Chen Lin said earnestly, "From now on, your name will be He Ming. You must work hard for me. Do you understand?" Ouch! Seeing it licking himself with a happy look on its face, Chen Lin nodded with satisfaction. Keep eating. It didn't take long for the steak to be completely eaten, and the eating speed was obviously much faster. Swallow ordinary meat. Evolution value plus 0.5 points. When the sound appeared, He Ming's size grew insignificantly. Reflected in the panel, all basic attributes have increased by 1 point. I just ate an ordinary steak. If I could swallow more food later, what would it be like? Thinking of this, Chen Lin's heartbeat couldn't stop accelerating. He saw the possibility of passing the college entrance examination. What surprised Chen Lin even more was that a trace of warmth swept through his body, and his strength seemed to increase a little at this moment. Although it is very small, probably only a few tenths. But even so, Chen Lin was still extremely happy. It turns out that Goldfinger can also use part of the energy obtained by the summoned object back to him. This is very good, not bad, not bad. Chen Lin let go of his worries, and suddenly he had someone to rely on in the future to compete with others, which gave him a little confidence. At the same time, there is also a clear direction in which you can become stronger by working hard. Chen Lin smiled slightly, picked up He Ming, who had become a little heavier, and went home with the sunset. The sky has completely darkened, stars are twinkling, and moonlight is spreading over the earth. As soon as Chen Lin opened the door, he saw his mother, Li Wiru, carrying bowls to the living room and wearing an apron. The dishes are almost ready, wash your hands first. Li Wiru does not have a profession. Unified job transfer was only implemented in this decade, so the majority of people in the world are still ordinary people. Yeah, Chen Lin dropped He Ming and left him alone. How's it going? What career did you get after changing jobs at school today? Li Wiru asked while cutting green peppers. Summoner. The next moment Chen Lin answered, an exclamation came from the corridor. Wow, it's a fighting profession, brother, you're great. A beautiful figure jumped over quickly, wearing a white t-shirt, with a pair of white and delicate calves exposed under the shorts. Brother, I heard that the transfer summoner will be summoned on site by providing materials from the school. What is your summon? Let me see. Seeing his sister's eyes twinkling with anticipation, Chen Lin pointed at He Ming, who was following him obediently. Chen Li's excitement suddenly stopped, and she was a little stunned. Is it so small? Yes. Chen Lin nodded. Chen Li's face suddenly became embarrassed. Why are you so young? She propped up her knees and got closer to observe, and then started to play with it a few times without believing it. He Ming lowered his head in grievance and let out a low moan. After a moment, Chen Li stood up silently and walked to Li Weiru. Mom, your son is dead, hurry up and have another one. The corner of Li Weiru's mouth twitched slightly, and she unconsciously raised the kitchen knife in her hand. Seeing this scene, Chen Li didn't dare to stay here anymore and ran away quickly. Chen Lin shook his head helplessly and helped carry the prepared dishes to the living room. Soon the three of them came to the table one after another. Chen Li's delicate feet were dangling happily under the table, and she picked up the dishes with her chopsticks and put them in her mouth. Suddenly, her eyes were fixed on the big elbow in Chen Lin's bowl. Brother, I want to eat. Li Weiru interrupted coldly, it's none of your business. Looking at his pitiful sister, Chen Lin couldn't bear it. He called He Ming over, and then gave him the big, fragrant elbow to eat. Feel the weak warmth emerge again, sweeping through the body to strengthen. Although it's not big, it's really refreshing to feel like you can improve yourself at any time. Chen Li's eyes widened, and she felt like she was really hit hard in her heart. Chen Lin, is your favorite sister not even comparable to a dog? Chen Lin suddenly looked surprised. Why do you think it's comparable to it? What gave you such an illusion? Break the defense, completely break the defense. Mom, look, brother scolded me for being worse than a dog. This is a wolf. ... Chen Li fell silent. It turned out that there was no place for her in this family. After dinner, Chen Lin cleaned up the dishes and washed up. He usually took care of these chores. After finishing his work, Chen Lin suddenly saw Li Weiru coming over and was a little confused. What's wrong? Li Weiru took out a card from her arms and said gently, I heard from my neighbor this afternoon that the increase in the college entrance examination passing line this time is much more difficult than before. I just saw Aunt Zhang and her son going to buy equipment and skill books. Thinking about the classmates in your class, they should all be the same. Mom can't let you fall behind because your family is not rich. There are more than 35,000 in this card. You should be able to buy equipment and these, right? If it doesn't work, Mom will ask a colleague to borrow some. Chen Lin was moved. These were basically all his family's savings. The result was handed over to him without any reservation, just to help him a little and not fall behind in the college entrance examination. Even though he really didn't want to take it, Chen Lin's rationality finally prevailed. He really needs a lot of money now, as He Ming's development funds, to make a big improvement. That's enough, Mom, thank you. Being able to tell what Chen Lin was thinking, Li Weiru comforted her gently. This money was originally saved for your brother and sister. Don't feel uncomfortable using it. It's almost time, Mom has to go to work. If word spreads about your transfer to the combat profession, many of my colleagues will envy me for having a good son. Li Weiru showed a smile, and after leaving her bank card password, she turned around, opened the door and left. The cool breeze outside blew in, and Chen Lin took a deep breath. His father has been dead for as long as he can remember. In order to raise her two brothers and sisters, Li Weiru works 2 jobs every day, so she almost never has any extra time to rest. Silently clenching his fists, Chen Lin's eyes gradually became firmer. I remember that in the previous college entrance examination, the top 10 students in the city would receive a large monetary reward. If he can win, Li Weiru won't have to work so hard in the future, doing 2 jobs at the same time. Perhaps if people knew that Chen Lin had this as his goal, they might laugh at him for being so ambitious. Because compared to previous college entrance examinations, this year's competition is much more intense. There are other ways to gain wealth though. However, that would take time and would be more than a delay, so it was not suitable for Chen Lin, who was currently starting out. Competing with peers and showing your potential to win a large amount of money from the city government is undoubtedly the fastest way. The streets were brightly lit, and Chen Lin walked out of a restaurant belonging to a living professional, carrying a box containing 100 kilograms of mutated beast meat with both hands. Because there was a lot of leftover ingredients, the boss readily agreed to sell them to him, and he only spent more than 6,000. According to the greedy and gluttonous talent description, He Ming's potential is unimaginable, and more importantly, he can become powerful in a short period of time. If Chen Lin wants to successfully pass the college entrance examination, cultivating it is the best way. And there is another reason: the energy transformed by He Ming can be distributed to him, directly bringing up his strength at the same time. Compared with buying a skill book for selling everything, it is simply a way to make too much money. The skill books are from low to high, ranging from 1 to 10 levels. Even a first-level skill book requires thousands or even tens of thousands, and it is not certain whether it will be of great use. There is certainly no way to reverse the situation. If you think that having one more first-level skill book can change the outcome, it can only be said that you are thinking too much. However, many ordinary families will still choose to buy. Because everyone believes that if they can improve their combat power a little more, their children will have one more chance of passing the college entrance examination. As we all know, almost all copy resources are concentrated in the hands of universities. If you can't get in, if you want to level up, you can only go outside the city and fight mutant beasts to obtain life crystals and convert them into experience points. But this is basically a narrow escape for professionals who are level 1 and not very strong. And except for some desperate hunters, many people may not have enough courage to go outside the city to kill mutant beasts even if they have combat power. Finding an alley, Chen Lin thought slightly and called out He Ming. It is already half the size compared to not long ago. Although it is still very small, the shape finally reveals a little bit like a wolf. Ouch! Seeing the bright red mutated beast meat in front of him, He Ming suddenly felt a strong desire to devour deep within his body. But without the owner's consent, it still endured and made no move. It wasn't until Chen Lin agreed that He Ming immediately opened his mouth and started biting madly. It didn't take long for the mutated beast meat that entered its stomach to far exceed its own size. But He Ming had no intention of stopping. Its stomach is like a bottomless pit, crazily transforming all the mutated beast meat that enters it. Under constant devouring, countless energy filled He Ming's body, rapidly catalyzing growth and strengthening flesh, blood and cells. At the same time, its size is growing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, and its bones are cracking like a monster. At this time, Chen Lin also felt the heat of energy emerging from his body. Wherever it swept, every part of his body was rising, and comfort came to his mind. One person and one beast continued to become stronger. Evolution value: 7.5 100. This is a newly added column with the appearance of the greedy and gluttony talent. As long as it reaches 100 evolution points, He Ming can evolve and gain unexpected transformation. 100 kilograms of mutated beast meat should be enough, Chen Lin thought silently. About half an hour passed. At this time, He Ming could no longer recognize his previous appearance. His body size reached more than 2 meters, and his height was close to Chen Lin's waist. It had more than doubled. As for the mutated beast meat that originally filled the box, there was absolutely no trace left. Chen Lin's thoughts moved slightly and he called up the panel to check. Summon. Black Underworld. Type: Mutated Wolf. Grade 1. Attributes: Strength 34, Constitution 36, Agility 36, Magic 33. Health: 100%. Skills: None. Talent: Greedy and Gluttony SSS. Evolution value: 100.9 100 Evolve. The attributes have almost increased by almost 10 times. This kind of panel data cannot be matched even by people who have transferred to rare professions. However, compared to the last time when all attributes were increased by 1 point after devouring a steak, it was much less. It seems that the further back you go, the more energy you need to grow. The advantage is that the higher the attribute, the stronger the effect of subsequent improvements will be. To put it simply, there is a big difference between a little effort in infancy and a little effort in adulthood. Chen Lin reached out and swiped in the air, turned to his personal panel, and glanced at the attribute bar. After changing jobs, his initial strength is 11, constitution is 10, agility is 12, and spirit is 20. Now all are increased by 10 points. Because the ordinary meat that Haiming ate before contained very low energy, very little could be given to him. But this time, I directly ate mutated animal meat with several times higher energy, and it was still a full 100 kilograms, so the strengthening effect was naturally significant. Now with his attributes, he should be outstanding in all classes. But just because of this, it doesn't mean that Chen Lin is stronger than everyone else. Strength needs to be comprehensive from all aspects, and attributes can only be used as a base reference. But Chen Lin also has an advantage now. Haiming's almost cheating way of easily becoming stronger can completely allow him to quickly close the gap with others. Chen Lin silently clicked on the evolution of the panel. At the moment of confirmation, a spherical source of terrifying talent deep inside Haiming's body vibrated. Suddenly, a special black power of evolution erupted, quickly sweeping through the body, frantically dividing more cells, reorganizing genes, and life slowly jumped to a higher level. After a long time, reminders appeared in front of Chen Lin's eyes. Congratulations, your summon Haiming has acquired the skill, Tier. Congratulations, your summoned Dark Soul has awakened a new talent, Gigantization E. Gigantization E. Increase your size 3 times, increase strength and defense by 300%, and reduce speed by 50%. Strength 34 right pointing arrow 54. Physique 36 right pointing arrow 56. Agility 36 right pointing arrow 56. Magic 33 right pointing arrow 53. With this evolution, Haiming's appearance has undergone a slight change. The skin is harder, the muscles are solid and strong, and he looks much more domineering. And the attributes have all improved again, all breaking through to more than 50 points. This is only level 1. It's really a bit perverted. In game terms, this horse-riding monster is a pure supermodel monster. Even the top summons can't compare. After a long period of experience in the human race, summons have been divided into 4 levels: low, middle and high. The criterion for judging is talent. When summoned, the summoned materials with powerful talents will have high quality, and upgrading will increase the attributes even more. F, E, D are low level, C, B, A are intermediate, S are high level, and SS are top level. As for summons that reach SSS talent, they have never appeared before. In other words, an existence of that level would not agree to the summons coming. Haiming's greed and gluttony were given by Chen Lin, so strictly speaking, it was not considered a top summon. Originally, they might not even be able to join the ranks of low-level summons. Phew. Touching the head of Haiming who was squatting next to him, Chen Lin looked at the night sky with mixed thoughts in his heart. Next, it's his time to shine. Whether it's a dragon or a worm, success or failure, we'll see in the end. The next day, Chen Li and Li Weiru stood on the road outside the door. Originally, I was ready to take leave, but I couldn't come in to watch. In this case, my mother wouldn't go. Shaolin, first of all, you must pay attention to your own safety. If there is any danger, you can withdraw directly. Don't show off your strength and get into trouble. It's no problem even if we fail the college entrance examination. We can work and live peacefully. Although in the dungeon, you can exit at any time with a thought, the risk is not high. But in the past college entrance examinations, there were still cases of death. Li Weiru had been stressing these words over and over again for an hour. Looking at the worry on her face, Chen Lin nodded. Brother, I want to go see it. Can you take me in with you? Chen Lin stretched out his hand expressionlessly and flicked his sister's forehead. No. Ah, she cried out in pain, her eyes a little resentful, and she covered the place where she was shot with her hands. Okay, Mom, sister, I'm leaving. After Chen Lin left completely, worry appeared on Chen Li's face, and she silently clenched the corners of her school uniform with her hands. Square. Countless people gathered and it was a bustle. After Chen Lin checked the information, he followed the staff's guidance and walked to his class area. Lu Wen was talking in detail about some details that need to be paid attention to when entering the dungeon. On the platform on one side was the principal of No. 2 middle school and all division level units. In addition, opposite them were students from No. 1 middle school, number 3 middle school, and no. 4 middle school. This college entrance examination brings students from several first-tier high schools together, and the competition is almost full. It can be seen from Lu Liang's nervous expression. He was full of confidence yesterday, but now he is dripping with sweat. There are over 30 people in No. 1 middle school who have awakened their talents, and one of them is still A-level. Is this the smoke coming out of the ancestral grave? No. 3 middle school suddenly exerted such force, a hidden profession appeared. With this situation, let alone the top 100 in the market, even the top 300 is difficult. Lu Liang regrets now that he put down his big words. By the time he went back and used his father's connections to ask around, it was already too late when he found out that the quality of this senior year's students was a billion points higher. With his third-level skills, there is no way he can compete with so many powerful people with just one method. Besides, they might all have it. However, if you have pretended to be out, you can't take it back. Even he felt a lot of pressure, and Chen Lin would definitely be at the bottom later. When the time comes, with his support, Zhang Yan will not regret her decision. Even if she does not reach the expected top 100, she may still be satisfied. Thinking like this, Lu Liang immediately relaxed a lot. I have liked Bai Yugong for many years. Now that he has changed jobs and gained power, he must strive to win it directly. Tisk, Chen Lin, are you still using it? Just give up like other life and career classmates, so as not to humiliate yourself and embarrass yourself in front of everyone. There is a saying that goes well, if you haven't competed, you can deceive yourself that you haven't lost. Hearing this, many students around him were amused. Chen Lin turned his head and took a look. The man who spoke was named Yi Chao. He stood next to Lu Liang. Besides him, there was Zhang Yan who was wearing a robe and had a graceful figure. Obviously, they are teammates on a team. Chen Lin ignored it. This little bit of gloating could not affect his state of mind. As a bell rang, the 4 bronze doors opened at the same time, and a cold breath instantly poured out of the slightly opened gaps. All the students did not hesitate and immediately carefully checked the copy information they wanted to enter. It's over. Our second middle school got the Bone Burial Forest, one of the dungeons with the highest probability of failure. What an outrageous luck. Is it still too late for me to apply to transfer to another school? Okay, all dungeons are of similar difficulty. What's there to say? You got the easier one among the 3, of course you have no complaints. Haha, you guys from No. 2 middle school are really funny. How can the college entrance examination be unfair? The surroundings suddenly became noisy. Lu Wen's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly reminded the students behind him. The terrain of the Bone Burial Forest is complicated and the trees and shrubs are very dense. You must be careful of being attacked by monsters, and always be alert to any situation around you. Teacher has taught a lot about monsters before, their habits, the environments they usually stay in, and their attack methods. You should quickly recall them now. After finishing a few words and thinking that nothing was missing, Lu Wen took out something that looked like a watch. This is a recorder made by the machinist. It can transmit the scores you obtained in the copy. Lu Wen quickly distributed them to all students in the class. Immediately afterwards, another bell rang, which meant that the college entrance examination officially began. A girl wearing white armor, with long ice blue hair hanging down her back, and a delicate and beautiful face took the lead in pulling the copy beam down. It's Senior Su Linzu from our No. 3 middle school. She chose to enter the dungeon alone. The more people in a team, the more points will be reduced. Those who are capable will of course choose to play alone. But she's a long-range mage and doesn't have close combat protection. Is that going to be a problem? I think your class is in vain. Senior Sister Su is a frost mage. She has 5 initial professional skills. Not only does she have powerful range AoE and single target burst, but she also has protection. How can you be afraid of monsters approaching? Don't make any noise. Look, there are 2 people in number 1 who choose to play alone. There is also one from the 4th middle school. Wow, that's awesome. Can we feast our eyes on it today? ... Countless juniors and juniors were sitting around the square, discussing with each other excitedly. Ignoring the sounds coming one after another, Chen Lin placed the recorder on his wrist, and it immediately extended the connector and locked it. The thought moves slightly and connects to the copy. Suddenly white light enveloped him alone, and he also chose to open a copy alone. In a short time, all the students had disappeared and entered the copy. Seeing this, a middle-aged man with a beard who had reached level 20 raised his hand and 4 water curtains appeared on top of the dungeon door, projecting the images inside. This year there are more outstanding students than in previous years, but they are all not in the number. 2 Middle School. The talent rate is probably at the bottom again. Hearing Lu Wen's words, the female teacher of the key class on the side nodded. There is no genius who can carry the banner, so we can only hope that the average grade will not be too bad. But not long after the words were spoken, there were actually students from their number 2 Middle School who chose to actively exit the copy. Looking at the empty bone burial forest copy door, a young man appeared in an instant. All the teachers in No. 2 Middle School looked at each other and lowered their heads in silence. This is the case with the bone burial forest. The difference from other copies is that you need to be more careful. And students with weak psychological tolerance will only panic when faced with a sudden attack. In the end, they will be so frightened that they feel like they are dying, and they may give up directly. Not even resistance. Judging from the remaining fear on this student's face, he probably belongs to this situation, and his teammates may still be fighting in the dungeon. But if you have a weak psychological tolerance, you can prepare in advance to achieve a reduction effect. What Lu Wen mentioned before is a preventive method. Other teachers have also warned, but obviously not all students can listen to it and actually apply it. However, we still cannot escape our responsibilities. Lu Wen whispered, "Old Pang, this is your student." The teacher named Pang Yuan sighed and hurriedly walked over to help his student. Seeing his eyes getting redder and redder, he immediately comforted him. He silently determined in his heart that he would copy all the knowledge that would be helpful for the college entrance examination more than 100 times in the future. It's better to be tired than to throw away the future now. Feeling many teasing glances coming over him, Li Mingji's face darkened and he stared at the water screen without saying a word. From the slowly changing water screen, he suddenly found a lonely young man in the dense woods, observing the surroundings. Li Mingji's face was surprised and his tone was curious. Single question, in our No. 2 Middle School's transfer yesterday, was there such an outstanding student? Hearing this, many teachers followed his gaze and looked confused. They had no idea which class this boy was a student in. It shouldn't be. They will remember it if they change to a powerful profession or awaken a good talent. Moreover, as a class teacher, such an outstanding student who can play alone should be able to show off. But they had no impression at all. Wait, this seems to be your student, Lao Lu. The female teacher in the key class seemed to recognize him. As soon as these words came out, Lu Wen instantly felt that all the teachers, including Li Mingji, were looking at him, waiting for an explanation. Lu Wen didn't know how to speak. He knew very well that Chen Lin was just an ordinary summoner. What's more important is that his summons don't seem to have any combat power. Moreover, Lu Wen confirmed it and applied for auxiliary props to detect it. Both showed the same result, which was very weak. Chen Lin's start was almost a disaster. If he didn't form a team, it would be impossible to pass the college entrance examination. He talked to Chen Lin like this yesterday and reiterated it several times. He even asked his classmates privately, and he was relieved when he learned that Chen Lin had a team. But what happened now? Where were his teammates? Lu Wen suddenly felt a pain in his head and couldn't think clearly. He really couldn't think clearly. Why do his students get sick on the spot? Li Mingji gradually realized something was wrong from his expression that turned into disbelief, and quickly took out his mobile phone and clicked on the evaluation information of number 2 Middle School to view it. It was not until the end that he finally saw Chen Lin's information. In ordinary professions, the summons are very weak, have no talents, and do not even have an outstanding advantage. How can this be used alone? Self-destruction of the future is completely self-destruction of the future. Thinking like this, Li Mingji took a deep breath and asked sternly, Lao Lu, how do you teach students? Lu Wen smiled bitterly. He really tried his best. But he still didn't refute it. Lu Wen originally valued Chen Lin very much. Regardless of knowledge or practical training courses, he could be regarded as an excellent performer. It's a pity that the summoned object was too weak, which directly caused his future to be worrying. At that time, many students who failed to transfer to other professions used him as a target to vent their words. Perhaps because of this, Chen Lin's teammates refused to take the college entrance examination with him. To go alone is to fight against the odds. Thinking of this, Lu Wen sighed deeply, feeling a little uncomfortable for him. It only takes one day to go from an outstanding student to a situation with little future achievement. This gap is unbearable for anyone. The female teacher of the key class with whom he is familiar with said, "It is true that Lao Lu did not do this well. Now we can only hope that Chen Linbi will be in any danger." "But what are you afraid of?" Through the water screen, you can clearly see that a dark green long insect is crawling on top of Chen Lin's head and is about to attack. Lu Wen's face suddenly changed, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. It turned out to be a poisonous toothworm. The monster that needs the most attention in the bone burial forest is it. Once bitten by it, it will inject venom, causing the body and consciousness to fall into temporary paralysis. When the time comes, you won't even be able to exit the dungeon, and you will end up being eaten alive. Many students have been tricked, but fortunately they have teammates who can quickly eliminate the toothworm. But Chen Lin was alone, and there was no one to save him. Seeing the poisonous-toothed insect opening its ferocious teeth and aiming at Chen Lin, he was ready to attack. In an instant, all the teachers and Li Mingji had one thought in their minds: it's over. You have entered the bone burial forest, the limit is level 20, and the dungeon is available for 3.59.58. After feeling slightly dizzy, Chen Lin immediately cheered up and looked around. Blood fell along the branches and leaves on the muddy ground overgrown with weeds. About 5 steps away, there were some corpses and bones, covered with gnawing marks. The breath was stinking, and light could barely penetrate the woods, so the vision was a bit dim. Thump! Suddenly there was the sound of an object falling. Chen Lin immediately looked back and saw a terrifying head with countless tiny pinholes and blood. His eyes were slightly focused, and without any hesitation, a staff over 1 meter long appeared out of thin air in his left hand. Sword in the stick, ordinary quality, effect, can switch between 2 forms. For the sword, physical damage is added, for the staff, the spell is slightly enhanced. At this moment, a dark green insect as thick as a bucket was hidden on the top of the tree and jumped down from it in an instant. The head was split open wide enough to swallow a human head directly, revealing a dense collection of terrifying teeth. Chen Lin, who had already reacted, took hold of the other end of the staff and pulled it out. Aha! A flash of white light instantly passed through the body of the dark green worm, extremely fast and extremely skillful. Chen Lin's face was calm. With a move of his wrist, the sword stopped in midair, rotated in a circle, throwing away some sticky blue blood, and then slowly returned to its sheath. The long dark green insect with its body split in half fell to the ground like a kite with its string broken. After a few squirms, it died completely. From it, an invisible ball of light flew out and poured into Chen Lin's chest. You have successfully killed the venomous toothworm and gained 5 experience points. At the same time, the item on Chen Lin's wrist displayed a reminder. Score plus 15. That's right, even though I haven't held a sword for a long time, I still haven't forgotten the moves. In those memories of his past life, Chen Lin was accompanied by swords every day, from childhood to adulthood. Even though it was an ordinary world and there was nothing extraordinary, the force-generating techniques were still practical. And drawing the sword and slashing repeatedly millions of times is simple and unpretentious, but it is enough for the current stage. Because compared to him, most people learn in a messy way and are miscellaneous but not refined. They all rely on skills. At this time, Lu Wen was stunned by the outside world. Not only him, but other teachers and Li Mingji also had the same expression. How is it possible? He's not a summoner, but this kind of neurological reaction and speed can only be achieved with high agility attributes. As a summoner who relies on summoned objects, shouldn't his other attributes be average except for spirit? Everyone immediately looked at Lu Wen, wanting an explanation. He doesn't know either. Lu Wen was also confused, even though Chen Lin had performed very well in the actual training class before. But it wasn't as outrageous as it is now. After changing jobs, the basic attributes will be increased according to the job. Summoner is just an ordinary profession. It only increases the basic attribute of spirit. I have never heard of it increasing agility. As for special items that can directly improve basic attributes, they are almost priceless. Based on Lu Wen's understanding of Chen Lin's family, he can never afford them. After thinking about it, Lu Wen didn't know how he had changed so much in one day. But if it's just about agility, it's still difficult to get 500 points alone and reach the college entrance examination passing line. Return to the copy. After killing the dark green worm, Chen Lin set off towards the hinterland of the forest. The deeper you go here, the more cruel the scene becomes. Corpses were hanging everywhere on the giant tree with a twisted trunk, and unknown blood smeared the weeds and shrubs randomly, like a chaotic painting. Rustling. Suddenly there was a loud noise in front of me, as if countless things were pushing through the blocking bushes, stepping over the weeds, and heading here. Ouch! Accompanied by unexplained ghostly calls, short, ugly creatures with green skin appeared in Chen Lin's field of vision. They were armed with various weapons including sharp bones, stones, and wooden sticks, and a sense of barbarism came towards them. Goblin. Chen Lin recognized it at a glance. The textbook describes that they have vicious habits, like to reproduce, and will kill each other if there is no food. After a rough estimate, there should be 50 or 60 of them. With such a large number of people swarming forward, it would be difficult for him to survive with 2 fists. Hey Ming, Chen Lin called in his heart. Suddenly, a white light appeared, and a long and loud wolf roar resounded over the forest. It is completely different from the first milky wolf roar, like the arrival of a king. Haiming's cold vertical eyes stared at the group of goblins rushing towards him. There was no need for Chen Lin to issue orders. Sensing their malice toward their master, Haiming instantly bared his fangs. Boom! Its limbs exerted force, leaving claw marks on the ground, and it rushed out like a cannonball. Boom! The goblin running at the front had his skull shattered and flew backwards without losing any strength. A row of goblins were affected by it and staggered around. Ouch! The goblins on the left and right yelled, their weird eyeballs filled with anger. They raised their weapons and smashed them down with all their strength. However, the weapons that had worked in the past were useless now. The sharp bone fragments hit He Ming's back and cracked open. Boom! He slapped the goblin's head hard with one claw, and his head exploded, causing blood and brains to splash everywhere. Violence. The most vivid aesthetics of violence. He Ming directly gave up his defense and started killing like crazy as if he was in a deserted land. Goblins stepped forward one after another, and then fell down, their blood gradually turning the surrounding area red. Even the goblin with a low IQ felt deeply instinctive fear from being unable to resist and being crushed completely to one side. They stopped attacking and fled in panic. Seeing this situation, how could Chen Lin allow it? He ordered Haiming to chase him while he went to kill the nearest goblin. Once you're here, don't even think about leaving. Seeing this brutal scene, the outside world was in an uproar. Do we actually have such a fierce senior in No. 2 middle school? Hiss. His summons are so strong. Forget it, why do you even have such high combat power? Let's fire it. The key is, he's so handsome, I really want to be his girlfriend. Haha, you 2 little ones can be tempted. ... In the observation gallery of No. 2 middle school, a group of first-year and second-year students looked excited. There were even a few schoolgirls whose faces turned red. More than 10 minutes ago, after someone discovered that Chen Lin was surrounded by goblins, he immediately attracted the attention of many people. Everyone basically believes that this senior will be eliminated. If there are too many ants, they can kill an elephant, not to mention that he is not an elephant. But what happened next shocked them. 1 man and 1 beast, all the goblins were killed. Simply divine. Who can explain what is going on? Didn't you say that Chen Lin's summons are weak? Do you call this weak? Huh. Facing Li Mingji's question, Lu Wen didn't know how to answer. At this time, his mind was a little down, and he could only feel a buzzing sound. Is this Tom the palm-sized wolf cub from yesterday? Is the span a little too big? However, he quickly reacted, his expression gradually became excited, and his mouth trembled. There is no doubt, Chen Lin's summoned creature definitely has talent. Moreover, it is most likely a growable type. After he said these speculations, Li Mingji looked happy, to reach this point so quickly, at least it is a B-level talent. If it is true, as you said, it is still a growth type, the potential is almost its inferior to high-level summons. Thinking of this, Li Mingji felt his heartbeat speed up. Will their second middle school finally produce a genius who can sustain their reputation? He remembered something and quickly asked behind him, "What's Chen Lin's score now?" Wearing round glasses, the mature and plump female teacher lowered her head and glanced at the tablet. According to the calculation of the recorder, his current score is 560 points, ranking first in our number 2 middle school. Good guy, he's on the right line in one fell swoop. Nowadays, most people are still wandering around here. Hearing this, Lu Wen even felt unreal. The students in his class are now number 1 in the school. Where's number 1 middle school? How many points do you get for first place? 610. Li Mingji was a little disappointed when he heard this number, but it was right after thinking about it. Although their talents may be similar, in terms of profession, there is still a big gap between Chen Lin's summoner and other rare professions. Actually, Su Linzu from No. 3 middle school is even more terrifying, with a score of 830, which is a long way ahead of the rest. The students from other second-tier and third-tier high schools are far behind. No one in the city can surpass her. Hearing this, Li Mingji and other teachers took a deep breath. It's been less than 20 minutes since I entered the dungeon, and I've already accumulated 830 points. If this momentum continues, it won't exceed 10,000 points, right? This is even qualified to compete for the top prize in the province. Thinking of this, Li Mingji felt a little envious. Within the copy, Chen Lin picked off a leaf, stroked the blade of the sword, and wiped away the blood. Balls of light emerged from the goblin corpse and melted into his body. The level soon reached 2, and the spirit was slightly improved by 5 points, which was very little. This is the disadvantage of ordinary professions. Even if you keep up with the upgrades, the gap will only get bigger as you go later, and eventually it will become an insurmountable gap. However, he can rely on He Ming's feedback to smooth things over. Chen Lin smiled slightly as he felt a steady stream of warmth pouring in, sublimating his whole body. At this time, He Ming was swallowing the goblin corpse. The outdoor buffet is great and doesn't cost anything. But there is time for the college entrance examination and cannot be delayed for too long. Although the score has reached the passing mark, admission to the school is a sure thing. But Chen Lin's goal is obviously more than that. He wants the top 5 universities in Daxia, the top 10 in the city, and even the first place. He Ming, let's go, the hunting really begins now. Ouch. He Ming, who understood the general meaning, responded, took a few steps to stand behind Chen Lin, and stayed close to him. Goblins are gregarious monsters. Since their troops appear here, there should be a nest nearby. Follow the direction they came from, and the probability of finding them is not small. 10 minutes passed, and Chen Lin did not encounter a monster on the way, which made him more sure of his guess. The dungeon is said to be a dungeon, but it is more like a unique world's secret realm. Everything in it will not be refreshed automatically. But it also operates according to the laws of nature. This is why the country chooses to control copies. If you leave it alone and let everyone brush it, the copy will soon be scrapped and cannot be recycled. Suddenly, several spears made of bones were thrown from midair. He Ming's pupils condensed, and he immediately blocked the front and swatted the bone spear away. Seeing this, Chen Lin, whose right hand was already holding the end of the staff, had no choice but to put it down. Looking at the originally silent forest, it started to sound almost at the same time, as if it came alive. Goblins came out from all directions, shouting and waving weapons to charge. Chen Lin showed no fear on his face. His staff turned into a sword and beheaded a goblin in an instant. Boom! The bone rod hit the ground with a muffled sound, but Chen Lin easily dodged it sideways. Snapped! He knocked it away with one kick and brought several goblins down with it. Chen Lin was unparalleled and concentrated, quickly slaughtering the fragile goblins. Every time they dodge, the blade will accurately take away their lives. At this moment, Chen Lin was like a butterfly dancing in the wind, with its wings like a sickle representing death. This elegance is like art, which makes the outside world fascinated. The eyes of some schoolgirls were bright and their hearts were beating fast. Oh my God, this senior is so awesome and so handsome. What should I do? I seem to have fallen in love with him, woo woo woo. Go away, he's mine. This combat technique is so superb, I'm afraid I have to work hard on it. My swordsmanship is even more powerful. I slit my throat accurately every time, and I can't even kill him by a single point. I don't believe it after just a few years of practice. Everyone in No. 2 middle school, including the teacher and Li Mingji, looked surprised. I never expected that Chen Lin would have such a superb performance. Now they no longer looked at anyone else, they all stared at Chen Lin without looking away for a moment. After all, he is now the only one in No. 2 middle school who has any hope of competing with top students from other schools. If you don't look at him, who should you look at? Lao Lu, you are not good at being a class teacher. Chen Lin obviously has such swordsmanship, how could he not fill in the evaluation information? Lu Wen's mouth twitched, and he wanted to say that he knew nothing. In the 3 years of high school, he never saw Chen Lin touch the sword once in the actual combat training class. This guy is so good at hiding his clumsiness. He could even imagine that the young man had been training hard for countless days and nights, just for this moment to become a blockbuster. It's a pity that Chen Lin changed his profession to summoner, so swordsmanship is only effective now. However, even so, it's worth the money. No, they are level 6 violent goblins. There are 13 of them. Chen Lin is going to be in trouble. Indeed, this thing's HP and strength are much higher than those of ordinary goblins. Wait, there are also fire goblins and ice goblins. It's over, Chen Lin isn't going to fall here, is he? Alas, it's too risky for him to find the goblin lair alone. All the teachers said something to each other, and they couldn't help but feel anxious and worried. But then, they soon discovered that their nervousness was unnecessary. In the water screen projection, Chen Lin spotted a dozen goblins with slightly different skins and immediately recognized them. After they appeared, all the goblins seemed to have found a backbone and no longer attacked haphazardly. As the flame goblins started chanting, fist-sized fireballs condensed and shot towards Chen Lin. Boom boom. Chen Lin dodged the fireball one by one, hitting the ground and exploding, burning fiercely. The other goblins saw the opportunity and took the opportunity to attack. Chen Lin turned his face slightly and narrowly avoided the bone spear. Then he stretched out his hand and instantly strangled the goblin by the neck, as if holding a chicken. Under its horrified gaze, he threw it towards the fireball shooting in the air. Boom! Gorgeous flames exploded, engulfing the goblin's body, and the firelight illuminated the dark forest. Chen Lin continued to transform into a humanoid launcher and threw the goblins as cannonballs. Smash it at the flame goblin. You can still play like this. Outside, all the students who saw this scene were shocked. Lu Wen was also stunned for a moment. He seemed to have never been taught this before. It was almost an hour before the college entrance examination, and more students were exiting the copy one after another. Their faces were filled with shock, as if they were just one step away from death. After they calmed down, they felt a strong sense of unwillingness. They chose to exit the dungeon and their scores did not reach the passing mark, which meant that they failed the college entrance examination, which was the only time in their lives. Many people beat their chests and stamped their feet, and their eyes could not help but turn red. But soon, these people discovered that people's joys and sorrows are not connected to each other. Everyone was watching the water screen projection and didn't pay attention to them, the eliminated losers. After discovering that the eyes of No. 2 middle school were surprisingly consistent, staring at the same picture, they also looked over curiously. Then, like a bolt from the blue, the whole person suddenly became stupid. This is Chen Lin. Why shouldn't he be the first to be eliminated? Why is he still in the dungeon? Our team of 4 was surrounded by goblins and almost died before we could withdraw. But how could we look so weak in his place? Oh my god, he is a summoner, why is he so strong? ... Some of them were people in Chen Lin's class, and their expressions were in disbelief. What they thought was a burden and useless waste is now infinitely stronger than them. Immediately they felt ashamed, then regretful. If I had chosen to team up with Chen Lin before, wouldn't it be possible to pass the college entrance examination lying down? ... At this time, in the copy, Chen Lin knocked the long-range flame goblin into disarray, interrupting it whenever it wanted to cast a spell, while continuing to clean up the ordinary goblin. This immediately made the grumpy goblin anxious, and he killed him desperately. However, a black shadow suddenly attacked it. Tear. The magic power converges on the forelimbs, forming black energy that clings to the sharp claws, slicing down from the top. Haiming's vertical pupils were scarlet and stained with blood. There were numerous wounds on his body, and his dark hair was painted red. Like a vicious dog coming out of purgatory. It was surrounded by more goblins, and after almost giving up its defense, without any regard for death, they were finally wiped out. Ouch! Under the severe pain, the violent goblin screamed, and 4 deep wounds continued to spurt out blood. Chen Lin moved quickly and swung down the sword blade in his hand without hesitation, finishing the final blow. Boom! Another dead one. Looking at the corpses scattered all over the place, the blood had covered the entire surrounding area, almost forming flowing water. Chen Lin smiled. There were more than 100 goblins, but now only a few were left. Fear began to appear on their ugly faces and they ran away in a hurry. The outside world suddenly broke out into an uproar again. 666, awesome. This senior is so awesome. With his summoner profession, he is able to perform so well. The summons are so powerful. Ha ha ha, let's see who will say in the future that we are all mediocre in the second middle school. With this performance, even the first middle school can't compare with him. The junior high school students from No. 2 middle school were shouting excitedly. Li Mingji swallowed his saliva and asked tremblingly, now, how high is Chen Lin's score now? Behind, the mature female teacher's face turned red and her voice was a little excited, 2080. Upon hearing this number, all the teachers' eyes suddenly widened. This score is almost breaking the all-time high since the establishment of No. 2 middle school. The key is that the college entrance examination is only 1 hour away. The highest score in number 1 middle school is 1790, which is temporarily below Chen Lin. The mature female teacher added as if she knew Li Mingji would still ask. Boom! Li Mingji's mind was shaken. No. 2 middle school has not produced results for so many years. As the principal, he has been questioned a lot. But now, the emotions that had been accumulated for a long time were like a volcano erupting, all pouring out, making him throw his head back and laugh smoothly. Lu Wen also looked excited and couldn't help shouting, beautiful, in his heart. A high score of 2000 is enough to meet the admission requirements of the 5 top universities. Being able to teach students like this will not only bring glory to his face, but also a promotion and salary increase are inevitable. At the same time, in the opposite number 1 middle school, we also saw that Chen Lin's score continued to rise from 5th in the score list. Soon, he surpassed Wang Hu, the top student they valued, and came to 2nd place. She was only 100 points away from the 1st place, Su Linzu. This shocked the teachers and principal of No. 1 middle school. They were concerned about Chen Lin's sudden flight to 5th place before, but they didn't pay much attention. After all, it is still a bit worse than Wang Hu. I'm just a little curious as to why a top-notch student suddenly appeared in number 2 middle school. Before the college entrance examination begins, all parties have done some research on other high schools. No. 2 middle school is undoubtedly the weakest one in this examination room. Not even a top student. They all believe that the 2nd middle school will fall to the 2nd-tier high school next year. Unexpectedly, Chen Lin suddenly came out to turn the tide. Not only did he forcefully drag the number 2 middle school back, but he even got on top of their number 1 middle school. Okay, this is how you play, right? All the teachers and principals of No. 1 middle school turned their attention to Chen Lin, trying to figure out the reason. Chasing the remaining goblins who were fleeing for their lives, Chen Lin came to the entrance of a cave. This is their nest. Looking at the dark cave, he thought for a moment and stepped inside. It's a bit bad. Inside the goblin cave, the line of sight is too affected, and the narrow environment will greatly limit flexibility. Li Mingji frowned. That's right, but I think you should believe Chen Lin. If it were placed before, everyone would definitely disagree with Lu Wen's words. But now, they nodded with deep understanding. The crisis has been reversed 3 times, breaking the results they imagined. There is no reason to continue to doubt. In the cave where he couldn't see his fingers, Chen Lin walked carefully, and from time to time he would step on some broken hard objects under his feet. These are probably the remains of eaten bones, left haphazardly on the ground. Ouch! Several green and thin figures suddenly jumped towards Chen Lin's head from the top of the rock wall. Chen Lin didn't need to listen carefully. The piercing cry revealed the goblin's location. He tightened his palm and swung the sword and the staff firmly in one direction without any hesitation. Aha! The head and body fell to the ground separately. The remaining two were locked by Haiming, who had night vision, and jumped up to bite them. There was a click, blood splattered everywhere, and he swallowed it happily. Suddenly, countless flames appeared at the corner of the passage, and Chen Lin's vision went from black to brighter and brighter. His expression changed slightly, and he immediately retreated wildly. Boom boom boom. The fireball exploded where he had just stood. With the help of this firelight, Chen Lin could clearly see the surrounding situation, and his pupils suddenly shrank. Countless ugly figures crawled up the rock wall above, staring at him with their mouths bared and their teeth bared. Ouch! Chen Lin looked solemnly as he looked at the goblins rushing down like falling flowers. He shouted loudly, Haiming! Ouch! The wolf's roar suddenly reverberated through the cave, and Haiming's body instantly grew at a terrifying speed until he was more than 4 meters tall. Gigantization. Talent. It suddenly charged forward, knocked away the goblins in the air, and stood in front of Chen Lin. The goblins around were in pieces, and they were a little dazed from the impact. They shook their heads, finally recovered, and continued to attack, trying to tear the food into pieces. However, a big claw slapped them and exploded their bodies, leaving them bloody. Boom! Under the huge force, cracks cracked on the ground, and dust flew up. In the gigantic form, Haiming's strength attribute directly reached 174, which is extremely terrifying. Side push. Chen Lin was not idle either, and cooperated with Haiming to start a killing spree in the cave. Roar. After approaching the hinterland, a deafening and violent roar sounded. The neck is covered with thick hair, the muscles are swollen, and the ferocious monster is as tall as a small building. It slowly emerges. Seeing that the goblins looking for food for itself were almost dead, its eyes turned red and it glared at Haiming angrily. As for Chen Lin, with such a small stature, he was naturally ignored by him. Boss Troll. Level 9. HP 3000. Attack power 200. Skills: Madness, Charge, Bloodthirsty. Roar. As soon as Chen Lin checked its information, the troll stepped forward and charged towards them. Suddenly the cave roared, and Chen Lin felt the ground shaking with every step he took. Ouch! Even when faced with a bigger and more terrifying-looking troll, Haiming was not afraid and faced him directly. Boom! The two sides collided, causing the entire cave to shake slightly, and the airflow generated by the collision blew away the closer corpse. Tisk! The black light of Haiming's sharp claws emerged and landed on the troll's body first, causing 4 shallow scars. Roar! Feeling the pain, the troll instantly became more violent. With 2 1-meter large hands, he grabbed Haiming's head and slammed it against the rock wall. Boom! Smoke and dust were everywhere, and gravel kept falling. Roar! The troll didn't give it a chance to breathe, and hammered down hard with its huge body. Haiming's limbs collapsed, blood oozed from the corner of his mouth where he was hit, and he wailed. Was suppressed. Chen Lin's expression darkened. After all, he is a boss, and the time for Haiming to grow is still too short, only 1 day. Chen Lin put away the blade and turned into a staff form, and his spirit immediately increased by 5 points. Strengthening technique. Then, he muttered silently in his mind and used this professional skill, which was the first time he had used it so far. Summoners have a total of 3 professional skills: summoning, strengthening, and restoration. It was useless before, it was a monster that Haiming had never encountered at all. The effect of the strengthening technique is to increase the basic attributes by 20% across the board. Buzz. A sliver of white light shone on Haiming's body, and for a moment, he felt his strength suddenly grow. Although it is only 20%, you must know that Haiming's current power after becoming giant is a full 174. Ouch! With his limbs gradually raised up, Haiming directly overturned the troll and fell to the ground. In its shocked eyes, he bit into it and tore off a piece of flesh. Roar! The troll screamed in pain. When he wanted to fight back, he was interrupted by Haiming, whose sharp claws tore at the same place continuously. Blood burst out in an instant, as if a major artery had been cut, and continued to fall on the ground. There were deep scars, and the intestines inside could even be seen faintly. Roar! The troll's eyes turned red, and the skill, bloodthirst, was activated. Wound recovery speed is accelerated. The lower the blood volume, the higher the attack. Boom! A big fist 1 meter thick hit He Ming fiercely. Not to be outdone, He Ming fought back with his sharp claws. The two were entangled together, inseparable, and the fight became more and more crazy. It was so intense that the entire cave was shaking, as if it was about to collapse. Seeing that He Ming's health was getting lower and lower, Chen Lin had no choice but to maintain the strengthening technique and use the recovery technique at the same time. The two skills were cast at the same time, making him more and more mentally heavy and weak. Because He Ming's basic attributes are too high, the continuous strengthening of the technique consumes a lot of money. Roar! The troll charged, hugged He Ming and slammed into the rock wall, dragging out a long and deep mark of about 100 meters until it rushed out. Boom! He Ming was thrown away and hit trees more than 10 meters away. He didn't stop until he was about 10 meters away. All the trees on the way collapsed, revealing a wide passage. At this time, the light was able to shine into the forest and reflect on He Ming's scarred body. Roar! The troll roared violently and charged straight at him again. Until now, its health volume is only a few hundred, and it has gone completely crazy. He Ming stood up with difficulty. His vertical eyes were cold, and without fear, he still chose to face him. Boom! The war is about to break out again. The noise spread hundreds of meters nearby, and some students heard it. All go, it's such a big situation. Who is fighting with some boss? It's impossible. The bosses in the bone burial forest are all at least level 12, which is far beyond what we can handle now. Yeah, we don't have that powerful people in No. 2 middle school. Not far away, a team of 3 people were gasping for air, some with lingering fears. In front of them were a dozen lifeless goblins. We finally killed them all. How many points do we have now? Yi Chao looked at the recorder on his wrist and said in an excited voice, Brother Liu, it's already 310. Hearing this number, Lu Liang smiled on his face. At the current speed, although he has no chance to enter the 5 top universities, there is no need for him to compete with those geniuses. Every year, the 5 top universities recruit the top 50 students in the city. In addition, there is a hard requirement of 2,000 points. It is simply impossible for them to meet these standards with just his rare profession. If you awaken your powerful talent, there is still some hope. After all, there are not a few people who switch to rare professions. Among them, there are dozens of them. However, they still have a chance if they settle for a higher education institution with a score of 800. On the side, Zhang Yan was a little depressed. Because she wanted to enter a top university, but Lu Liang was not as strong as she thought. If I had known earlier, I would have found people from key classes to form a team. Thinking of this, she felt a little disgusted in her heart. Suddenly, a sound came over, making the nervous Lu Liang and Yi Chao look instantly. Hiss! It's a little far away from us. Is someone fighting the boss? Hearing this, Zhang Yan's eyes lit up. Being able to fight against the boss means that the team is definitely very strong. Let's go over and take a look. If they need help, we can get a share of the pie. Lu Liang and Yi Chao looked at each other and nodded. Not only them, but all the students who heard the noise rushed over. Even if it's not about boss's score, I still want to see which team is so strong. Soon, when they arrived at the scene, they were stunned. Because the one fighting the boss is not a team at all, but one person. At this time, Chen Lin had come out of the cave and was standing on the broken tree, with the staff in his hand emitting a faint light. This iconic, strengthening technique instantly made them realize that this person was a summoner. Just kidding. An ordinary summoner, even if he was alone, he defeated a level 6 boss in a single fight. The point is, this boss is about to be killed. In the center of the dust, He Ming slapped the troll with one claw. After using tearing again and again, the magic power in its body was exhausted, and both sides were almost exhausted. Roar! The troll roared weakly, looking at He Ming's fangs biting his neck with unwillingness and fear. Laugh! Its hand gradually dropped, its body lost its vitality, and the blood volume on its head changed from 1 to 0 at this moment. During the process, no student dared to step forward and intervene. If you directly grab monsters without asking for permission, your qualifications for the college entrance examination will be cancelled. Chen Lin was obviously capable of killing himself, so they were too embarrassed to speak. Ouch! Black Ming looked up to the sky and roared, his whole body covered in blood, some from goblins, some from himself, and more from trolls. He looked extremely ferocious and made people tremble. How can it be? After seeing Chen Lin, Zhang Yan looked unbelievable and his mind went blank for no apparent reason. Gulu, Lu Liang and Yi Chao were the same, their throats rolled, and they saw disbelief in each other's eyes. Isn't Chen Lin's summoned object a useless dog? This horse is completely different from yesterday. There are such fierce people in our number. 2 middle school. His name is Chen Lin. I heard someone mention him last night, saying that he was disabled. He was really blind. Killing the boss alone is worth 1,000 points. Most top universities will pay attention to him if this news comes out. Amid the conversation, a group of 4 people walked over. Key class, Zhao Weiyang, hello classmate. They are 2 men and 2 women, both of whom are rare professions. This combination can be said to be very strong in the second middle school. This is indeed the case. Chen Lin heard about Zhao Weiyang, the monitor of the key class, in the class group. Their team had high hopes before the college entrance examination began. However, now the light has been completely obscured by Chen Lin. Chen Lin replied lightly, I didn't expect that or no. 2 middle school would have such a strong person like you. My pressure would finally be relieved. Zhao Weiyang exclaimed. By the way, your summon is seriously injured. Do you need our help to heal it? Her name is Ji Yufei, she is an auxiliary professional holy priest, and she has a lot of milk. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Weiyang was kicked by the girl with a round and cute face behind him. What are you talking about? Ji Yufei's face turned red. Chen Lin smiled slightly and said, no thank you. Okay. Zhao Weiyang felt a little regretful and prepared to leave. Originally, he wanted to invite Chen Lin to join the team, but he happened to still have a spot. But when he saw the score on Chen Lin's wrist recorder from the corner of his eye, he immediately gave up the idea. The total score of 5,320 was more than 5 times theirs. Zhao Weiyang almost couldn't stop himself and came out. How on earth could this be done? He sighed inwardly. However, Zhao Weiyang couldn't help but turn around after taking a few steps. Is it really not necessary? Don't worry about wasting our time. They currently have a score of 800. Although they can eventually be admitted to top universities, they can't compare with the geniuses in No. 1, number 3, and number 4 middle schools. Before the college entrance examination, Zhao Weiyang's class teacher said that if the second middle school doesn't produce another genius this year, it will really fall to the second tier. In Zhao Weiyang's view, Chen Lin was undoubtedly the only hope. Therefore, even if it takes precious time for the college entrance examination, he wants to stop and help. It's really unnecessary. Chen Lin shook his head. Seeing this, Zhao Weiyang couldn't force it anymore and just thought he had other plans. On the other side, Zhang Yan gritted his teeth and finally chose to walk away. In her opinion, Chen Lin still had a crush on her, and as long as she explained and begged a little, she would definitely be forgiven. When the time comes, let him agree to team up with you. However, at this moment, He Ming suddenly stepped in front of him, staring at Zhang Yan coldly with his blood-red vertical pupils. Zhang Yan suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and his legs and feet went limp. Chen Lin didn't even look at her. This kind of woman was not worth wasting time. Chapter 11. Half an hour ago, in the outside world, the firelight of the explosion reflected the goblins crawling on the rock wall. Seeing this scene, many people turned pale with fear. These goblins are so cunning. They took advantage of their poor vision to ambush on the rock wall on the top of the cave. The female teacher of the key class frowned. Chen Lin is in danger. However, in the next moment, He Ming's body quickly grew in size, knocking away all the goblins in a straight line and protecting Chen Lin. The situation suddenly reversed. One man and one beast cooperated tacitly and began to kill indiscriminately. What the female teacher in the key class originally wanted to say was immediately swallowed. Li Mingji's eyes lit up. The talent of giant transformation had appeared before and was recorded in the book. He recognized it instantly. It's actually a double talent. How come this summoned object has a surprise for us? After a long time, nearly 200 goblins were killed, and Chen Lin was almost at the end of the cave, when the troll woke up. Seeing the two sides struggling together, everyone suddenly sweated. After suppressing level 6, and the troll was still the boss, the teacher of No. 2 Middle School and Li Mingji were worried that He Ming would be beaten to death with one punch. But as time went by, the shock on their faces grew more and more, until finally the troll collapsed and completely exploded. Win. What a kill. Ha ha ha, killing a boss that is level 6 higher than me alone, even the top universities will take this seriously. It is a talent for generations to come. Li Mingji smiled broadly, but soon, a piece of good news made him feel dizzy. Chen Lin's score is 5,320. It has surpassed Su Linzu from No. 3 Middle School. Boom. Everyone felt like they were struck by lightning. Some of them couldn't believe it, but if they thought about it carefully, it was natural. Chen Lin killed too many people too quickly. What is unbelievable is that Su Linzu was too shining before, but now she is compared to her, which makes her feel unreal. Breaking their limits again and again, Chen Lin shocked them too much. Do you think, is it possible for Chen Lin to win the top prize in the province? As soon as these words came out, the surrounding area suddenly became quiet, except for the sound of breathing becoming more rapid. However, the atmosphere was soon broken by exclamations. Following the sound, I saw it was coming from No. 3 Middle School, and I saw a picture projected on the water curtain over there. The girl was surrounded by frost, and the cold current around her body was sharp and biting, blowing her long ice-colored hair into the air. Her delicate face was cold, and she raised her hand. In an instant, the cold current exploded in all directions, spreading 100 meters away and freezing more than 100 gray wolves into ice. It even includes the level 9 boss Gray Wolf King. However, its life was tenacious and it still did not die directly. Is this the horror of a hidden profession? The expressions on everyone's face were extremely shocked. Seeing the instantly overtaken score, the number 2 middle school teacher and Li Mingji looked at each other speechless. Difficult, too difficult. To win the top prize in the province is almost like reaching the sky. Chen Lin was sitting on a tree to rest. He Ming had transformed from a giant to a normal form, and was devouring the troll corpse while recovering his strength. There is a lot of energy converted from its flesh and blood, and every bite makes He Ming grow a little bit bigger. Because the water screen projection was facing Chen Lin, this process was not seen. Chen Lin felt that the heat continued to emerge in his body, sweeping throughout his body and intensifying. He looked at the recorder and saw 5,320 points. He was not in a hurry and quietly waited for He Ming to evolve. They were either rushing or killing along the way, and now they had very little energy left. Black Ming is even more difficult, and the load to maintain giant growth for a long time is very heavy. Half an hour later, the troll was completely swallowed, leaving only the skeleton, internal organs, etc. Black Ming's evolution value has also changed from 10 to 126, and there is only 124 left before the next evolution. The figure even grew to 2 meters tall, from reaching only Chen Lin's waist to directly surpassing him. After another 20 minutes, He Ming swallowed all the goblin corpses in the cave, and the evolution value reached 250 and was finally completed. As Chen Lin clicked to confirm the evolution, waves of black power suddenly spurted out from He Ming's body, turning into a cocoon and enveloping it inside. The evolution this time far exceeded the last time. It was no longer a weak black airflow, and the process was completely different. Click. Not long after, a crack appeared in the cocoon, and a pair of sharp claws suddenly came out and tore it open. Ouch! He Ming, who came out of it, grew in size again, becoming more than 2 meters larger. His normal state was the same as his previous gigantic form. His dark hair also took on a new look, and his injuries disappeared. The vertical pupils turned dark blue, taking on a bit of spirituality, noble and cold, and seemed to be much more intelligent. Congratulations, your summon He Ming has acquired the skill, Deterrence. Congratulations, your summoned black giant talent has been promoted from E to C level. Congratulations, your summon He Ming has gained a new talent, Flame C. New skills have been obtained again, and the previous talents have also evolved with this time, directly promoting to a higher level. The effect is truly terrifying, a complete transformation in all directions. Chen Lin was amazed in his heart and his thoughts moved slightly. Summon. Black Underworld. Type. Giant Flame Wolf. Level. 4. Attributes. Strength 110, Constitution 112, Agility 108, Magic 104. Health. 100%. Skills. Tear. Magic power gathers on the forelimbs and is attached to the claws, causing 300% damage and penetrating 15% of physical defense. Deterrence. A mental shock within sight range, which can directly immobilize those with weak wills. The stronger the will, the weaker the effect. Talent. Greedy and Gluttony SSS transform all swallowed food into energy, grow regardless of restrictions, and evolve beyond the shackles. Gigantization C. Increase your size by 4 times, increase your strength and defense by 400%, and reduce your speed by 50%. Flame C. Create your own flame. Temperature and magic power are linked. Evolution value 0.08. After swallowing the troll and more than 200 goblins this time, a total of 181 points of basic attributes were increased, while the level was only increased by 15 points. Just like Chen Lin's ordinary career principle, He Ming's current life level is relatively weak, and the basic attributes that can be improved by upgrading are not many. However, as it continues to evolve in the future, its life level will sooner or later surpass the top summons, and even be promoted to an unknown level. Now there is still 1 hour before the end of the college entrance examination, it's time to make the final sprint. After taking a look at He Ming, who came over and rubbed his head affectionately against him, he didn't look as ferocious as he did during the fight at all. Chen Lin touched it. Then, let it squat down a little and suddenly jump up. He Ming's agility now exceeds 100, and he can run at full speed much faster than him. If you don't sit down, you won't sit down. Let's go and find a place with more monsters, Chen Lin said. Ouch, sitting on He Ming's back, apart from a little bump, it still felt pretty good. It's definitely better than riding a horse. The scenes on both sides quickly retreated, and when they encountered some scattered monsters, Chen Lin didn't need to take action. He Ming made them tremble with a look, and then slapped them to death. Deterrence does not seem to have much effect, but when faced with enemies weaker than He Ming, the effect is particularly significant. And even if the opponent is determined, it can still cause the opponent to pause for a brief moment. This moment is enough to do a lot in a strong showdown. It can even be the key to winning or losing. The flame directly gives He Ming an additional output method, and the giant promotion increases the upper limit of the explosion. It can be said that every evolution of He Ming follows certain rules, turning its shortcomings into advantages. As more than 10 minutes passed, one person and one beast crossed thousands of meters and came to the territory of another boss, which was also the ceiling of the Bone Burial Forest, the level 15 Twisted Tree King. This made the number 2 middle school group, who were watching from the outside world, sweat. Isn't this a bit risky? The Twisted Tree King is the second-tier boss. Regardless of the health attack, he has more than double the troll in every aspect. The female teacher in the key class looked worried. Li Mingji also frowned, but he breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Chen Lin's summoned object disappeared for a while and suddenly grew in size. It can be seen from this that at least Chen Lin has improved. Although there is still not much hope. After all, Chen Lin was only at level 4, and now it was just a turn. It was almost impossible to kill the Twisted Tree King on the second level. Those who can achieve such a large span of combat power are very rare in the country, with only a few appearing in a year. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at the water screen projection belonging to No. 1 middle school. Su Linzu also took a rest at the same time and began to continue to score points. That wave of ultimate moves also consumes a lot of money on her, so she shouldn't be able to use it more than twice. However, even so, it would be difficult or even impossible for Chen Lin to catch up. Li Mingji sighed slightly. It was more than 7,000 points, which was a huge difference. Moreover, he had seen Su Linzu's battle scene, where all the monsters died with just one skill. How could Chen Lin compare with this point-raising efficiency? The advantages and disadvantages between professions are revealed at this moment. Summoner is simply not as good as the mage profession, which is recognized by many people. However, Chen Lin had already done beyond their expectations. If it were last year, the score of 5,320 would be the first in the city. But it's a pity that Su Linzu, a brilliant talent, has emerged this year. She can even compete for the top prize in the province. After all, their top scorer in Dongtian province last year only had 10,055 points. This year, although the students from each city are more powerful and there is a sign of a talent explosion, with Su Linzu's speed, she can definitely reach the top with two more monster groups of hundreds of people. 15,000 points. What am I thinking about? Originally, number 2 middle school couldn't even get into the top 5 in the city, but now Chen Lin can get second, he should be satisfied. Li Mingji shook his head and laughed, and returned his attention to the water screen projection. On Chen Lin's side, the moment he stepped into the black soft mud, as if something had been triggered, the trees woke up one after another and opened their red eyes. The huge torso had a split opening that extended to the back, looking like a ghost's smile. Countless red eyes opened in the darkness and stared at Chen Lin. The ground shook a little, and they were seen rising up from their roots. The branches were like tentacles, thrusting towards Chen Lin. If it were an ordinary person, he would probably be too scared to move. Chen Lin was not afraid at all and jumped off He Ming's back. The soles of his feet stepped on the soft black mud, and he suddenly stepped forward, leaving a footprint. When the branch was approaching, he instantly drew out the sword blade in his staff. Aha! 5 swords were swung out in the blink of an eye, so fast that afterimages appeared. The branches were cut off instantly, lost their activity, and fell to the ground. Quack! The tree spirit screamed in pain and made a harsh sound, like fingernails scraping against a blackboard, making people feel uncomfortable all over. It's so annoying. Chen Lin's eyes turned cold, he dodged attacks from the branches on both sides, and rushed to the tree spirit in 3 steps at a time. The sword blade stabbed straight into its split mouth. With his left hand on the hilt of the sword, he thrust it in deeply and hard. The sword was almost completely submerged and penetrated from the back of the head. The dryad's voice stopped suddenly, his eyes widened, and the whole tree was stunned. No, are you being polite by doing this? Chen Lin was a little surprised. It was not dead yet. It was indeed a level 8 monster with strong vitality. Without the slightest hesitation, he flipped his wrist, and the sword blade still in the dryad's body suddenly twisted. Laugh. Green juice and blood spurted out from the mouth of the tree spirit. Then in its horrified gaze, the sword blade tore downwards. Laugh. A large amount of juice and blood flowed out of the huge opening, and the blood bar of the tree spirit several meters high was emptied and collapsed. Quack. Seeing the tragic death of their kin, all the surrounding dryads roared and surrounded them with their fangs and claws. The branches blocked all sides, leaving no way for Chen Lin to escape. The roar was like a fuse. In the darkness in the distance, more thick and tall trees opened their eyes. At this moment, the entire forest truly came alive. Ouch! With one claw, he tore the tree spirit in front of him into several pieces. He Ming roared angrily, and wisps of jet black flames emerged from his body, rapidly growing and covering his whole body. It turned into an afterimage and pounced on the group of tree spirits surrounding Chen Lin. Boom! The dark flames ignite the leaves and branches of the tree spirits, and continue to spread to other tree spirits. Quack! The tree spirit screamed wildly, its humanoid face twisted in horror. However, no matter how hard they struggled, they could not extinguish the dark flames, but instead burned more and more fiercely. It's as if this dark flame is devouring their lives and helping itself to thrive. Like bone-eating maggots, Chen Lin was a little surprised. He didn't expect the characteristics of He Ming's flame to be so abnormal. Fire is also a relatively common type of talent. However, what is special about other talents is that it will have different characteristics depending on the awakened person. As far as Chen Lin knows, most professionals who have awakened their flame talent have ordinary flame characteristics. Mutations only occur in a very small number of people. He Ming obviously belongs to the latter. What an unexpected surprise. Chen Lin raised the corner of his mouth slightly as he looked at the black flames that represented death and the wailing tree spirits everywhere like a plague spreading everywhere. Soon, all the tree spirits within a few hundred meters were reduced to ashes under the pitch-black sea of fire. The white light groups merged into Chen Lin's body one after another, and in a short period of time, he was directly promoted to 1 level. Level 8 tree spirits provide much more experience points than goblins. The level of the summoned object and the summoner are synchronized, and Haiming also rises by 1 level at the same time. After burning all the targets, the dark flames did not disappear, but returned to Haiming's body like countless little snakes as if they were alive. Chen Lin instantly felt the heat emerging from his body, which was constantly strengthening his body. His mind was extremely relaxed, and his spiritual world was slowly expanding. Reflected in the personal panel, the basic attributes are rising. His expression was shocked and he immediately checked to see what was going on. Flame, see, create your own flame, temperature and magic power are linked. Characteristics. Confuse any kind of power within itself and turn it into flames with different effects. Hiss. No wonder, Chen Lin looked surprised. It turns out that Haiming fused the innate power of greed and gluttony with flames to create a new effect. As the dark flame burns, it will continue to refine the target into energy to nourish and strengthen itself, becoming even more terrifying. In the end, everything returns to Haiming and is directly absorbed by it. This is equivalent to Haiming being able to skip a little bit of the troublesome step of eating corpses in the future. Moreover, the flame has an additional terrifying form, which increases the power of this talent by several levels. This characteristic is so suitable for Haiming, it is simply tailor-made for it, and its effect is no less than having an extra Sss-Level talent. Chen Lin looked at the recorder and saw a score of 7,120. Killing each tree elf costs 20 points, twice that of a goblin, but no one will look for them because there are too many of them. It's easy to kill a tree spirit and attract a group of them. When they are finally surrounded, you can just put away your weapons and choose to exit the dungeon. Because of this, most people will not take risks and only look for monsters with other weak points on the periphery, slowly accumulating points. There was a popular saying before the college entrance examination, unless you can fight 1 against 100, don't mess with the tree spirits. Even if you can, don't kill too many, because the big ones will come. Boom boom. The ground trembled slightly, and countless gravels danced, as if something huge was approaching. Coming. Chen Lin licked his lips. Suddenly, he noticed something unusual and jumped back instantly. Boom. The ground exploded immediately, and countless golden branches with thick arms strangled them instantly. If Chen Lin was slow for a second, he would end up being penetrated through his body. At the same time, Haiming was also attacked by the golden branches, but it directly resisted with its physical body and did not dodge at all. Gah! An angry and cruel roar came from the darkness in the distance. Dozens and hundreds of trees moved their trunks with their roots exposed, eyes full of hatred, staring at the 2 outsiders who were massacring their own people and invading the territory. Among their support, there is also a huge tree king that is more than 100 meters high. This strength, Chen Lin silently took a step back. Even if his basic attributes were all over 50 points now, he would probably be finished if he went up. So many branches can weave a dragnet. If someone with trypophobia sees it, they may faint on the spot. Haiming, go up and them. Chen Lin knew very clearly about himself that strong enemies must be dealt with by summons. Ouch! Upon hearing the order, Haiming's vertical pupils flashed fiercely, and his body ignited with dark flames. At the same time, his body grew crazily until it was more than 17 meters tall. No fuss, full combat power, direct to the strongest form. Boom! Haiming Bao rushed forward, his strong body smashed through the air, breaking away 2 air currents, like a rolling boulder. The jet-black flames dragged out a long path under the wind, like a swimming dragon. Boom! It directly tore apart piles and rows of tree spirits like a wave and rushed towards the twisted tree king in the center. Viewed from a high altitude, it is like a black flame dragon facing countless monsters, penetrating like a straight sharp blade. Although there are tens of thousands of people, I am going with the momentum of a rainbow. Quack! The dark flames were like a starved child returning home, greedily devouring everything. Dryads kept letting out painful howls, their faces distorted. Aha! Chen Lin saw the opportunity in this chaos and immediately entered the field to harvest. The dark flame seemed to have consciousness and would not touch him at all. Gah! Watching each clan member die in pain under the fire, which turned into nutrients to help the flames spread to the next target, the Twisted Tree King let out a long roar, and countless golden branches killed the culprit. Bang bang bang. Countless golden branches rushed out from the ground, trying to restrain Haiming and penetrate it to death. However, after becoming giant, Haiming's power attribute reached more than 400, and he couldn't control it at all. It simply chose to ignore it, like an unstoppable ferocious beast, running madly towards the Twisted Tree King. The tree spirit on the way tried to stop him, but he was immediately set on fire, as if he was infected with the most deadly viral plague. No matter how hard he struggled, it was of no avail and he could only die slowly. Gah! The Twisted Tree King was provoked and his eyes were angry. More golden branches were entangled together and tightened continuously, turning into a big stick that was 20 meters wide and dozens of meters long, and was smashed towards Haiming. The sound was so huge that even the air made a noise. Boom! The ground collapsed instantly, countless cracks opened in all directions, and smoke and dust instantly rose. Chen Lin's mouth twitched when he saw this scene. Haiming was such a tough beast that he would take any attack forcefully without even trying to dodge. It could obviously avoid it by turning sideways, but it had to resist with its body. However, Juhua increases defense by a full 400%, and with its terrifying power, it can indeed do this. Ouch! A roar spread around, and Haiming did nothing except bending his limbs slightly. The face of the Twisted Tree King showed human shock. Is this horse riding strength worthy of your body type? Then, before it could think about it, suddenly, there was severe pain at the end of the branch. Gah! The Twisted Tree King screamed, and in its fearful eyes, dark flames were burning along the golden branches. It quickly retracted its arms, and spread its branches to slap each other to extinguish the fire. Taking advantage of this time, Haiming had already rushed to the root of the Twisted Tree King. In front of it, which is hundreds of meters tall, Haiming looks a little small. However, the Twisted Tree King was afraid and hurriedly wanted to retreat away from this monster. Ouch! The sharp black light of the claws emerged, and the dark flames from Haiming's body converged on his forelimbs, and he swung down crazily at the Twisted Tree King. A claw tore off the bark of the tree, twisting the Tree King's face into a ferocious face, and all the branches penetrated the black world from different angles. However, Haiming didn't care at all and relied on the strong defense of his body to exchange injuries for injuries. The dark flames began to attach themselves to the Twisted Tree King and burn, slowly spreading upward. Gah! The Twisted Tree King's eyes were full of fear. It felt as if its life was being eaten away bit by bit, as if its body was covered with moths. Gah! The Twisted Tree King roared, and lines appeared on the golden branches, suddenly becoming extremely hard and sharp. Laugh! Haiming's skin was broken open and blood flowed out. However, this aroused its ferocity even more. It suddenly twisted around and cut off more than a dozen branches with one claw. The two sides attacked each other fiercely, and soon more and more blood stains appeared on Haiming's body, and his skin and flesh were constantly penetrated. However, it looked unyielding and had no intention of retreating at all. The Twisted Tree King was already scared. The dark flames kept eating away at it, and the golden branches became fewer and fewer, and they were cut off to the ground. Gah! The roaring sound resounded through the sky and spread to the surroundings. Suddenly, all the trees within a few kilometers suddenly stood up one after another, and their roots broke free from the soil. Chen Lin frowned slightly. After finally killing a large area, more tree spirits came, and it was almost endless. But this is a good thing for Haiming. Seeing the dozens of tree spirits surrounding him turn around and walk away towards Haiming, Chen Lin didn't stop him and looked down at the recorder. 11,300 points. Even Chen Lin couldn't help but be a little surprised, but it was normal to think about it. There were already hundreds of dead tree spirits. Ouch! Haiming also roared, and in an instant, dark flames returned to it from all directions, like chains. Suddenly the attributes soared, and Black Ming's attack became even more brutal. Sheathing the sword into the shape of a staff, Chen Lin's mind moved slightly, and he cast two skills, strengthening and restoration from afar. In an instant, Black Ming rose again, causing the Twisted Tree King to scream, and its blood volume continued to drop. Under the king's order, all the tree spirits had to pounce on Haiming. Even if they knew they would die, they had to delay for a while. The dark flames bloomed again, burning them to ashes. On the other side, near the territory of the tree spirits, a team of 2 men and 2 women noticed something strange. They saw that the place that should have been full of tree spirits turned into a bare and bright area, which was extremely conspicuous in the dark forest. They were immediately confused. Hiss, what's going on? Why are all the tree spirits gone? They should have all gone inside. In that direction is the Twisted Tree King. Hearing this, Zhao Weiyang's face was shocked. It can't be Chen Lin who is beating the Twisted Tree King. The 3 of them gasped. Although it was unbelievable, it seemed to be the only possibility. After all, except for him, no one in this copy has the strength to kill the boss. Neither can they. That troll alone might be able to destroy them all. Zhao Weiyang glanced at the recorder, which showed that their team's total score was 1,700. He gritted his teeth and said, there are too many tree spirits. Chen Lin only has 1 summon. Once he is stopped, he will definitely have problems. Weiyang, you don't want to say, let's go over and help Chen Lin, right? Ji Yufei's eyes widened slightly. The other 2 people saw him nodding and quickly refused, no. If we pass by and he can't hold on anymore, then everyone will be eliminated. Yes, Brother Weiyang, your grandfather has retired for a long time. You don't need to think so much about the honor of no. 2 middle school. This is all for someone they don't know, and they naturally don't want to take advantage of their future. Zhao Weiyang analyzed calmly, if you think that Chen Lin's summons can fight a troll alone, then it should be no problem to withstand the Twisted Tree King for a while. We will deal with some tree spirits as quickly as possible. The score should be enough for 2,000. In the end, if it doesn't work, we can still enter a top university by giving up the dungeon. The 3 of them fell silent and thought for a few seconds. Ji Yufei bit her red lips and nodded in agreement. The brother next to him saw this and had no choice but to agree. Okay. The last remaining girl nodded reluctantly. All in favor. Zhao Weiyang looked happy, thanked him, and ran towards the location of the Twisted Tree King. The 3 of them followed closely behind. A few minutes later, when Zhao Weiyang and others arrived at the scene, they saw the huge Tree King, almost completely engulfed in black flames, struggling to escape. Quack! Don't come over here. Under its torso was a ferocious demonic wolf with black flames all over its body, its sharp claws tearing at it crazily. No matter how the tree spirits around them attacked, they ignored them. Let their branches flap and stab. Gulu. Zhao Weiyang and the other 4 swallowed their throats with shock on their faces. Am I not dazzled? Ji Yufei even rubbed her eyes in disbelief. The 2nd level Twisted Tree King at level 15 was just suppressed and beaten like this. Chen Lin's summoned object is so powerful. For a moment, the 4 of them were a little envious of his luck. At this moment, Chen Lin looked over and was a little surprised. Why are you here? Zhao Weiyang smiled bitterly. We thought you might be in danger and wanted to help, but we ended up worrying in vain. Chen Lin was a little confused. They must not be familiar with them, right? But when he saw Zhao Weiyang's score on the recorder out of the corner of his eye, Chen Lin was stunned. This was at the risk of missing out on a top university, which made Chen Lin even more confused. I want to know why, after we've only met once, you would rather waste your college entrance exam time trying to help me. Ji Yufei immediately explained. Weiyang's grandfather is the old principal of No. 2 Middle School. Over the years, No. 2 Middle School has been declining and is about to fall into the 2nd tier. You are the only one who can possibly stabilize No. 2 Middle School. ... That's it. Chen Lin didn't understand, but he was still a little moved. He thought for a while, you go and kill as many tree spirits as possible. I will ask He Ming to cooperate. Hearing this, Zhao Weiyang hesitated. Let's go find the monsters elsewhere. We can't rob you. Before he finished speaking, Zhao Weiyang's voice suddenly stopped when he saw Chen Lin raising the recorder on his wrist. 15,300 points. His eyes were in disbelief, and he was a little speechless. Originally, 5,000 points was already an exaggeration, but unexpectedly, after an hour of absence, the score doubled again. Why do they think it is so difficult to get points? They have worked so hard to kill monsters and only now have 1,700 points. How can the gap between people be so big? Zhao Weiyang sighed, and soon his expression became excited. In this case, their number 2 Middle School will definitely maintain its first-tier status this year. Thank you. Zhao Weiyang took a deep breath and said. Chen Lin smiled faintly and said, hurry up, Heiming kills a little fast. After the words fell, the roar of the Twisted Tree King was heard getting weaker and weaker, and within a few seconds, the huge body fell to the ground. Buzz. A white light rose from Chen Lin's body, and his level was raised to level 8. At the same time, the score on the recorder increased by another 3,000. It's not over yet. There are still hundreds of tree spirits alive. Chen Lin naturally doesn't want to let them go. He will kill them all. He should be able to level up 2 more levels to reach the second level, and the score will probably be enough. Reaching more than 20,000. Seeing that the king was completely dead, these tree spirits finally couldn't help their instinctive fear and hurriedly fled. However, their speed is very slow, and Heiming doesn't even need to take action. As long as they are covered with black flames, they will die. Zhao Weiyang and the 4 others also chased in the direction where there were fewer tree spirits. Since the dryads were too scared to fight back, they killed them very easily. It's too easy to get points. Miao Shanshan opened her mouth slightly. At this time, their scores had exceeded 2,000 in just 10 minutes, reaching the minimum admission standards for top universities. When have we faced a monster before without going all out and almost having an accident? Zhao Weiyang shook his head. It was Chen Lin's summoned creature Heiming. It was too intimidating. No matter how hard we kill these tree spirits, none of them dare to look back, let alone attack us. Ji Yufei looked delighted and raised the corners of her mouth. Yeah, Chen Lin's summon is so powerful that even monsters are afraid of it. We took advantage of him this time, and everyone owes him a favor. Zhao Weiyang said. Originally they wanted to help, but ended up being the ones receiving the favor. The 3 of them nodded one after another. Miao Shengxi felt a little ashamed on her face. After all, she was unwilling to help from the beginning. Although the 4 of them have a chance to reach 2,000 points on their own, it is equally possible that something might happen in the middle. How can it be as easy as now? The 4 of them walked next to Chen Lin, and Zhao Weiyang asked, there is still some time before the college entrance examination is over. Do you still want to kill monsters? Chen Lin shook his head. His score of 20,500 was enough now. If this was still not the first place in the city, Chen Lin had nothing to say. In the last few minutes, not many points could be obtained. Looking at the mess all around, there are ashes everywhere, which fly away when the wind blows. These are the ashes of the tree spirits. The Twisted Tree King, which was more than 100 meters in size, was now completely burned, and all the dark flames had flown back into Heiming's body. The normal-sized Heiming has grown to 7 meters, and Chen Lin's basic attributes have all exceeded 70 points. His level has just risen to level 10, and he can take a turn. This college entrance examination, I have made a lot of money, and it can be over. Looking at the setting sun that was about to reach the horizon, the reddish setting sun hid me, casting long shadows. Zhao Weiyang and the 4 others stood behind Chen Lin, silently waiting for the dungeon time to count down. 0.10, 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.2, 0.1. When the time limit is reached, the copy begins to be forcibly teleported away. ... Countless students, shrouded in white light, returned to the wide square one after another, and they were immediately greeted with shouts of joy. A sense of collective honor arose in the hearts of many candidates unconsciously. Chen Lin couldn't help but smile slightly, and the staff in his hand returned to the equipment space in his personal panel. Next to him, Heiming's 7-meter-tall figure squatted beside him, standing still. Ha ha ha. First, he actually achieved first place. Li Mingji's face turned red with excitement and he almost jumped up. The other teachers, Lu Wen, were no exception, and they were all delighted. It's too scary. There are 3 kinds of talents. I still underestimated Chen Lin's summon, it's so perverted. He himself is also strong, isn't he? He can kill so many monsters by himself as a summoner. It's unprecedented for anyone to do this. Ha ha ha, indeed. Lao Lu, you have a good student. The key class female teacher said with a smile. Although high school teachers like them can't teach many useful things, and it depends more on the students themselves, Lu Wen is also proud of it. Let's go meet Chen Lin. Li Mingji couldn't wait to pull them over. Soon, he saw Chen Lin. After seeing some shallow blood marks on his body, Li Mingji hurriedly said, treat him quickly. Don't you see any injuries? Hearing this, Ji Yufei felt a little embarrassed and immediately raised her staff. Green light lit up slightly on Chen Lin's scar. Classmate Chen Lin, are you feeling uncomfortable elsewhere? How are you feeling? Li Mingji was concerned for a moment. Chen Lin shook his head, I have no problem. Okay, it's fine. Where's the summoned object? Li Mingji looked at He Ming aside. Hiss. There were all shocking wounds, and the dark hair was dyed red. Even though Chen Lin maintained the recovery technique, he didn't heal much, which was enough to show how brutal the battle with the Twisted Tree King was. Ji Yufei acted as a tool and began to treat He Ming. His mental energy was rapidly depleted and he almost collapsed. Chen Lin saw Lu Wen coming and said politely, Teacher Lu. Okay, well done. Lu Wen smiled from ear to ear. On the other side of the square, seeing Chen Lin being held in high esteem by the stars, Zhang Yan's face turned green with regret. She gave up the dungeon an hour ago and was eliminated. Her score was too low to get into a higher education institution. No, it's all his fault. It's obvious that the summoned object has so many talents and is not useless at all, but he didn't tell himself. If she told herself, she would never team up with Lu Liang. Thinking of this, Zhang Yan's eyes were a bit resentful. After Lu Liang and Yi Chao were eliminated, they did not dare to stay in the examination room and left immediately. They were afraid that they couldn't bear it and collapsed on the spot. At this time, Su Linzu was also surrounded by the teachers and principal of No. 3 Middle School, and they sighed at each other. No. 2 Middle School is really lucky to have such a monster. Yes, Linzu, don't be discouraged. Although you can't get the first place in the city, you will definitely have a place in the top 10 in the province. Yes, your score of 19,500 is already very good. ... Listening to everyone trying to comfort themselves carefully, Su Linzu smiled and said she was fine, and then looked at No. 2 Middle School with some curiosity. At a glance, He Ming was as tall and domineering as a small building. Is he the one who suppressed himself? Looking at the handsome and gentle Chen Lin beside it, Su Linzu was thoughtful. Suddenly Li Mingji's phone vibrated, and he suddenly looked solemn and took a deep breath. It seems that the province's score rankings have been integrated and tallied by the Tianqi system and sent to schools in each city. Everyone, the provincial rankings are out. Upon hearing this, all the teachers, including Chen Lin, immediately looked over. Just now, Chen Lin had learned that he ranked first in the city with a score of 1,000 points higher than the second place. He was a little curious, if he were placed among the dozen or so cities in the province, where would his score rank? Li Mingji opened the screen, his fingers trembling slightly. After making several wrong clicks, he finally opened the Dongtian provincial list. A total of 1.6 million people took the college entrance examination in Dongtian province this time. First, Chen Lin, Fanyan No. 2 High School, score 20,500. Second, Su Linzu, Fanyan No. 3 Middle School, score 19,500. Third, Luo Haoyi, Quan City No. 1 High School, score 18,740. Fourth, Li Mingji felt as if his brain had been hit hard and it was buzzing. Seeing that he didn't speak for a long time, the other teachers came over to check, and they suddenly looked incredible. The top pick in the province turned out to be their second middle school. Oh my God, a dreamy feeling like flying into the clouds made them feel so happy. There was silence all around, and I didn't even know what to say. Chen Lin was a little surprised. Even if 20,000 points were placed in the entire Dongtian province, it shouldn't be too bad, right? He was about to take a look, but he suddenly heard Li Mingji laughing heartily, and the teacher next to him was also excited. Their second middle school produced a provincial champion. It's not just one person who will benefit from this. Having a bright face is only secondary. Countless people will flock to their No. 2 Middle School for publicity next year, and the higher-ups will take it even more seriously. Lu Wen's bloodline is fierce and he can't control himself. The number 1 scholar in Dongtian province is his student, and he can blow him to his grave. Seeing them in a chaotic situation, other high school teachers and principals nearby had complicated expressions on their faces. If it were them, they would definitely do the same. One man can conquer the whole province of Dongtian. What an amazing talent and beauty. How could such a genius be acquired by the number 2 middle school at the bottom of the crane? Oh, there are so many people who want to register for No. 2 middle school next year. Seeing a person dancing, Chen Lin had some reaction. He wouldn't have won the first place in the province, right? Soon, Zhao Himing ran back with an excited expression and went to check for him. Chen Lin, you have won the first place in Dongtian province this year. Chen Lin was slightly stunned. From the beginning, he never thought that he could do this. It can only be said that Himing is indeed abnormal. Not only does his growth have no upper limit, but his combat power becomes more and more terrifying as he evolves. Of course, the one who gives it the gift is the real key. Chen Lin was looking forward to the next summoned object. As the news spread rapidly, all the first and second grade students in the observation seats soon learned that the provincial champion was taken by a senior named Chen Lin. In an instant, the observation seats of number 2 middle school burst into cheers. 6,666. Excuse me, I don't know how to describe it. I can only express my excitement by saying. I'm just saying that with his powerful summons, he is definitely qualified to compete for the top spot in our Dongtian province. You rode the horse just to get high. You just blew it. You didn't believe it at the time. It's decided. God bless me next year and I will become a summoner. The summons are so cool. Brother, calm down, it's not the profession that's strong, it's him that's strong, understand? Ah, Senior Chen Lin, give me a monkey. Quote ? Many school girls looked at him with admiration, their faces flushed, as if they had become star-chasing girls. The corners of Chen Lin's mouth rose unconsciously. He said that he did not enjoy it at all and was not happy at all. Some people who were originally jealous of Chen Lin lowered their heads silently. If the gap is not big, they will think of various reasons to pull Chen Lin down, thinking that he is all relying on luck. But once the gap is too big, to the point where you can only look up, you can only admire. Zhao Shan, wait, with your expression, you won't like Chen Lin, right? Ji Yufei was a little surprised when she saw Miao Shanshan looking at Chen Lin blankly. Hearing this, Miao Shanshan suddenly came back to her senses, her face turned red to her ears, and she whispered, I don't know, but I'm not worthy of him. Indeed, Ji Yufei sighed. Chen Lin and them will probably not be in the same world in the future, so it's better to give up the idea as soon as possible, otherwise it will only become more sad in the end. On the other side, after coming out of school, Chen Li was absent-minded on the way home, always looking in one direction unconsciously. Pear, what's wrong with you today? Are you always like this? Worried about my brother? Oh, today is brother Chen Lin's college entrance examination. No wonder, Ji Xiaoxiao said in a teasing tone. If it had been before, she would have been so angry that she retorted. It seemed that she was really worried. Ji Xiaoxiao stopped joking and said, my sister is from number 1 middle school and is in the same examination room as brother Chen Lin. She will come to pick me up later and we will know what's going on. Then let's go quickly. Chen Li's eyes lit up and he pulled Ji Xiaoxiao into a trot. Wait, don't be so hasty, I can't stand it. Soon, the two women were panting heavily and holding their hands on the streetlights on the side of the road. Their faces were rosy and their bodies were steaming. The fragrant sweat soaked a few strands of hair in front of their foreheads. Xiaoxiao, when will your sister come? It's almost here, so I tell you not to worry. There are many cases of death in the college entrance examination, but the probability of spreading it to everyone is extremely small. Brother Chen Lin can't be so unlucky. Ji Xiaoxiao rested for a while, and suddenly a voice came from behind, what's wrong with you? Ji Qin felt a little strange when she saw her sister panting as if she had just done some strenuous exercise. Sister, Ji Xiaoxiao lay on her peak, how is it? Did anything happen in the college entrance examination? No one died. Ji Qin shook his head, no, why are you asking these questions all of a sudden? Ji Xiaoxiao pointed to Chen Li on the side, she is worried about her brother. She has to pull me in a hurry, and her legs are exhausted. Pa, Ji Xiaoxiao felt a burning sensation in her thin waist and started to cry, seeking protection from her sister. Ji Qin was a little funny, as if he was remembering something, and said, "Let me tell you, something big happened just now." "What is it?" Ji Xiaoxiao looked curious. "In our examination room, we ranked first in Dongtian province. It's so exciting." "Sister, is it true?" Ji Xiaoxiao was surprised. "Which high school are you a student of?" "Second middle school." "Lizzie, I'm in the same school as your brother," Ji Xiaoxiao said. Chen Li nodded. After knowing that Chen Lin was fine, her worries disappeared and she was also a little curious. Nowadays, the #1 scholar in the province means that he will become a powerful professional in the future. It is very important and almost everyone will pay attention after hearing it. You don't believe it when I tell you that he is just an ordinary summoner who has changed professions, and he doesn't seem to have any talent. Ji Qin slowly stated. Your sister and I were in danger and gave up the dungeon in advance. Fortunately, I saw him go into the dryad territory of the bone burial forest alone, one man and one beast. The tree spirits there are generally level 8 monsters. At that time, most people thought he was going to be eliminated. As a result, his summons went straight through all the tree spirits, and with thousands of tree spirits, he killed the Twisted Tree King of the second step boss. When she said this, her eyes flickered and her voice was a little excited. By the way, his name is somewhat similar to that of your friend's brother. They both have the surname Chen, and even the last name is homophonic. Wait, it can't be the same name, right? Ji Qin thought thoughtfully. Is there a possibility that they are the same person? Ji Xiaoxiao said with a smile. Quote. Ji Qin's face froze, and he turned his head firmly towards Chen Li. What is your brother's profession? Summoner, Chen Li said without thinking, but that shouldn't be the case. His summons are very weak. Ji Qin breathed a sigh of relief, which almost scared her. It's a little wolf cub. By the way, its hair is black. Ji Qin was stunned. His steps stopped and he stood motionless. Seeing her reaction, Ji Xiaoxiao and Chen Li suddenly felt an incredible truth in their hearts. It can't be true, right? The three of them just stood blankly with each other. A gust of wind blew by, and their thoughts were confused. Bang! Chen Li opened the door and rushed into the house, where she saw her mother Li Wiru busy cutting ingredients. Chen Lin was about to return from the college entrance examination. She got off work early today and prepared to cook a good meal seriously. Mom! Chen Li was out of breath. She came to the kitchen and pulled Li Wiru's apron. Brother! He! When Li Wiru saw this scene, her expression suddenly changed, and she was suddenly scared. What's wrong with Shaolin? Brother, he won the first place in Dongtian province. Chen Li's eyes flashed and he explained the whole story. After hearing this, Li Wiru breathed a long sigh of relief. It would be fine if nothing happened. We're not sure about this yet. Let's wait until your brother comes back and then ask more about it. She is still relatively rational. If it is all a coincidence, she will be happy in vain. About half an hour later, Chen Lin came back, and Li Mingji personally drove him off. However, he did not follow him in. After all, Chen Lin must share the joy with his family when he achieved such results. Of course, he could not disturb him at this time. He just smiled and watched Chen Linjin enter his home. Seeing her brother coming back, Chen Li ran over like a rabbit with shining eyes. Brother, are you really the #1 in our Dongtian province? Chen Lin was a little surprised. He didn't say anything yet, but this girl already knew. Yes. Are you really not joking? Is it really you who can dominate the entire province with one person and one beast? Facing his sister's questioning again, Chen Lin nodded. Yes. After receiving 2 affirmative replies, Chen Li felt her breathing become rapid. She jumped several times excitedly. Her eyes were as bright as stars. Brother, you are so awesome. Where is the summoned object? Let me see it. They all say your summons are very strong and handsome. At this time, Li Wiru also came over with a happy smile on her face. She didn't expect that her son could be so outstanding. For a moment, I even thought it was a dream. Mom, you don't have to work 2 jobs anymore, Chen Lin said with a smile. Okay. Li Wiru suddenly felt a sore nose, and she suppressed her laughter and said, let's go eat first. Well, I won't eat it if I don't want to. I want to see my brother's summons. Chen Li puffed up his cheeks. Chen Lin was helpless. It's too small at home. I'll let it out for you later. Okay, deal. Chen Li happily sat down at the dining table and started cooking rice quickly. Tonight's dinner is very rich, many of which are relatively expensive dishes that I was reluctant to buy before. However, since then, it has not been the case. Chen Lin lowered his head and glanced at the message that had just been sent to his phone, which showed that his account had received 1 million Sha Yuan, and smiled slightly. When he returned home, he and Li Mingji talked about rewards. Unexpectedly, he picked up his phone without saying a word and said that he didn't need to wait until tomorrow and would inform the city government to issue cash rewards now. As the principal of No. 2 Middle School, of course he cannot command the city government, but Chen Lin has the weight to do so. Just kidding, if he is said to be the ancestor of Fanyan City, no one will stand up to refute him. The former top picks in the province, not counting accidents, are now almost all Daxia's high-end combatants. Therefore, one can imagine Chen Lin's current weight. After receiving Li Mingji's call, the city government immediately agreed to act as quickly as possible. After knowing that the number 1 winner of Dongtian province came from Fanyan City, they were overjoyed and were preparing to set off firecrackers to celebrate. Suddenly there was an opportunity to win over Chen Lin, so they couldn't hesitate. A small request, in exchange for the favor of a strong man with high-end combat power in Great Sha in the future, it's a lot of money. There will be more generous rewards in the future, but these cannot be mobilized immediately, and Chen Lin is not in a hurry. He chose to keep all of the 1 million Sha Yuan at home to subsidize it. After all, it was of little use. First of all, he does not need to consider equipment and skill books. Li Mingji revealed that his achievement as the top scorer in the province will definitely be included in the rewards issued by the city government. And He Ming doesn't need to buy flesh and blood to eat, he can just hunt by himself. Naturally, it would be best to keep this money at home to reduce the burden. From now on, my mother and sister will no longer have to live a frugal life. This is what it means for Chen Lin to become stronger. After dinner, Chen Lin did his housework as usual and then returned to his room. Outside the window, my sister Chen Li was sitting on He Ming's 7-meter-tall body, screaming as if she had found her favorite toy. He Ming, take me out to play quickly. ... Chen Lin held his forehead and felt a little pain in his brain. His thoughts moved slightly, and suddenly a long personal panel appeared. Chen Lin. Category: Human. Occupation: Summoner, no transfer, can perform 1 transfer. Level: 10, cannot be improved, requires 1 turn. Attributes: Strength 65, Constitution 64, Agility 66, Spirit 121. Health: 100%. Skills: Summoning, Strengthening, Restoration. Talent: None. Chen Lin has always had a doubt. Is his ability to give talents to summoned objects and feed himself back, not a system? After all, he tried calling many times but got no response. So the final explanation left is that this ability is actually his talent, but it just cannot be displayed on the panel. Chen Lin guessed that either his talent was too terrifying and exceeded the SSS level, or there were other reasons that prevented it from being detected. However, these are not things that can be explored now. Chen Lin shook his head and focused on the career column. The admission time is 3 days later. During this period, you only need to submit your intention to choose a school and wait for the notification. However, top universities in the province will personally send teachers to recruit them, so there is no need to consider which university to attend now. In that case, let's change it tonight. After Chen Li finally had enough fun, Chen Lin took He Ming back to the summoning space, then stretched out his finger and clicked, perform a turn. A transfer can only be completed by passing a randomly matched transfer copy. Generally speaking, the stronger you are, the more difficult it will be for you to match a promotion copy. On the other hand, as long as the job is done well, the professional potential can be improved, that is, the attributes will increase more every time you upgrade. If the dungeon clearance score reaches the highest level, your career will even be promoted to a higher level. This is one of the few opportunities for ordinary professionals to straighten out their strengths and weaknesses, but only a handful of people can do it. Entering the appropriate copy for promotion based on your comprehensive index. A moment later, Chen Lin disappeared into the room instantly. Coordinate number: 08694. This is a world riddled with holes and on the verge of collapse. The fire of mankind is about to be extinguished. Can you bring salvation or destruction? Optional Mission 1. Destroy 1,000 disaster beasts and protect the survivors to the best of your ability. Optional Task 2. Help the disaster mother beast devour all evolutions. Number of people this time, 10. Time limit, 23.59.59. Reminder. You cannot actively return to Blue Star. Chen Lin suddenly appeared among the ruins without warning. The surrounding high-rise buildings were broken and covered with moss and vines. There are many rusty cars parked on the street. It can be seen that this place once had a similar prosperity to Blue Star. The sky was covered by a thick haze, with no trace of sunlight visible, just like the radioactive dust after a nuclear winter. The smell of the air here was really indescribable, and Chen Lin frowned slightly. He glanced at the transparent box in front of him and immediately understood that after selecting the mission, he would probably establish his camp. Chen Lin didn't think twice and directly chose one of the tasks. Not because of anything. If you want your disaster mother beast to devour everything, what will his black underworld eat? Chen Lin had just taken a step when he suddenly heard a series of noises, and then the glass door very close to him was pierced by a flying figure. Bang! Countless fragments fell to the ground along with a petite and exquisite girl. Roar! A bloody, skinless crawling beast sprang out of the dim store and pounced on the girl. Well, the girl stood up, her vision was a little blurry, and she reached out towards the long knife on the side with difficulty. However, he still took a step slower. Seeing that the beast was close at hand, he was about to bite his neck, and the fear of death surged into his heart. She subconsciously put her hands in front of her, and at this moment, a sword light flashed through her instantly. Poof! The head and body were separated, and the monster in midair lost its center of gravity and fell to the ground, bleeding a lot of blood. Not dead. The girl looked back and saw a handsome young man with broken black hair and bright and deep eyes. He flicked the sword and put it back into its sheath. Chen Lin stared at the girl, or rather the two dark red horns protruding from her hair, with some surprise on his face. You are so weird. ... The girl suddenly fell silent, not knowing how to answer the question. The atmosphere became quiet, and Chen Lin felt that he was somewhat rude. Hello, my name is Chen Lin. Do rain. Seeing the hand he stretched out in front of him, Lu Yu shook it and said, thank you. You're welcome. Chen Lin was about to ask her about the situation in the world, when a shout suddenly spread. The situation is different, everyone needs to retreat. Hearing this, Lu Yu's expression suddenly changed. She quickly picked up the long knife on the ground, grabbed Chen Lin's hand and wanted to leave. Go quickly, or else. Before he finished speaking, a car hit him straight from a distance. Chen Lin suddenly pulled Lu Yu and threw him backward. He moved his staff forward, intending to follow through forcefully. Boom! The car hit Chen Lin. Under the huge impact, he was knocked back more than 10 meters before he came to a complete stop. Lu Yu's face panicked. She endured the pain and ran over quickly. Are you okay? Call. Chen Linping calmed down the surging energy and blood, shook his head, and then looked at a beast standing on two legs in front of him, covered with ferocious spikes. It's the sword demon, we can't get away. Lu Yu's eyes were solemn, and her fingers unconsciously clenched the handle of the knife. Boom! The sword demon walked faster and faster, and in the next moment, the ground beneath his feet was sunken, and he suddenly rushed out with all his strength. So fast. Before Lu Yu could react, a figure passed by her and rushed towards her instantly. Clang! Chen Lin pulled out the sword blade of his staff and collided with the sharp blade arm of the sword demon, making a crisp symphony sound. Roar! The sword demon roared and swung its other blade arm, slashing towards Chen Lin's head. Chen Lin looked calm and shook it away. He immediately took a few steps back and said, Lu Yu, give me your knife. Hearing this, Lu Yu quickly threw the long knife towards Chen Lin. Aha! Accurately grabbing the handle of the knife and pulling it out, Chen Lin's eyes showed fighting intent. Now, come again. Roar! The sword demon seemed to feel the provocation and rushed forward instantly, waving its two sword arms wildly. Chen Lin was not afraid at all. He used a knife in one hand and a sword in the other, but there was no awkwardness at all. He was extremely proficient. In a few seconds, the two sides exchanged dozens of blows back and forth, so fast that afterimages appeared, which was dizzying. Lu Yu opened her mouth, a little shocked, so strong. Even my sister can't do it if she can confront the sword demon so head-on. Click. After thousands of confrontations, Chen Lin suddenly found a flaw, turned his head slightly to avoid the fatal attack, and then slashed upward with the long sword of his left hand. The sharp blade cut through the air with his terrifying strength, and instantly cut through the sword demon's arm. Roar! The sword demon roared in agony, and with lightning speed, Chen Lin pierced its heart with the sword blade. Laugh! Penetrates through the hard skin and goes straight behind the back. However, even so, the sword demon still did not die. His eyes were fixed on Chen Lin, and he still wanted to kill him even if he only had one arm left. Struggle in vain. Chen Lin blocked the incoming sword arm, and finally beheaded him with a long sword. The head was rolling on the ground. You are not from here. Lu Yu touched her still aching buttocks and came over. With such strength, it is impossible to remain anonymous. Chen Lin was noncommittal and said with a faint smile, "This knife is so sharp. It has gone through a catastrophe and can be regarded as a different kind of disaster beast." Seeing that he didn't want to answer, Lu Yu didn't bother with this question. This catastrophe should be the difference in this world. Chen Lin asked her to elaborate. Lucia looked a little weird. Shouldn't this be something everyone knows? However, she is very patient with the people who saved her twice. A long time ago, a red mist suddenly appeared around the world, and mutations occurred in all humans and animals wherever it passed. The red mist lasts for a whole month, and more people can't stand the torture and become crazy. In the end, he became irrational and only knew how to kill all living things except his own kind. We call the red mist evil energy. To this day, evil energy still exists, but it is diluted and spread in the air. Now the evil energy seems to have changed again. Even the sword, and even the mountains and rivers will undergo catastrophic changes. I no longer know, how humans should survive. Looking at Lu Yu's dimming eyes, Chen Lin sighed in his heart. When the alien civilization invaded, the blue star human race would also face the same extinction. What should we do then? Shaking his head, he quickly put his thoughts behind him. If the sky fell, there would be someone taller to hold it up. All he could do now was to keep improving himself, so that he would be able to protect his family in the future. Pointing to the dark red horn on Lu Yu's head, Chen Lin asked, "So is this caused by your mutation?" Yes. Lu Yu nodded, then saw that there was no trace of disaster on Chen Lin's body, and lowered his head silently. "If you don't lose your mind in the evil spirit, you won't completely turn into a disaster beast. We have summarized the key. It seems like will allows us to resist disasters and become stronger little by little." After listening to this, Chen Lin had a general understanding of the whole world. At this moment, a dozen people appeared from the corner of the road in the distance, all of them looking panicked. "Xiao Yu, why are you still here? Run away," the tall woman at the head said loudly. After she finished speaking, the ground shook faintly, as if a torrent was coming. The sky in the distance was scarlet, and a large amount of evil energy gathered, like the red mist coming again, and soon countless disaster beasts entered the eyes of Chen Lin and Lu Yu. Suddenly, roars came from all directions, and many disaster beasts were seen on the tall buildings, staring at everyone with bloodthirsty eyes. Scarlet formed a wall at this moment, enveloping everyone, and kept approaching. "It's over." Despair emerged from their hearts, and everyone's legs slowed down and gradually became unable to move. "Captain Lu, what should we do?" Hearing the trembling inquiry from the side, Lulu gritted her teeth and said, "Get ready and rush out." Hearing this, everyone's throats moved. Looking at the sword demons and sickle demons, these dangerous beasts could kill them in an instant. It was almost impossible for them to survive. But soon, they suppressed these thoughts and forced themselves not to doubt. "Xiao Yu, follow me soon." After Lulu finished speaking, she glanced at Chen Lin. "Probably people from other surviving organizations who happened to be here. Sorry, we got you involved." Looking at Lulu with a guilty look on her face, Chen Lin didn't pay attention and walked straight forward. "Wait, what are you doing? We are surrounded now. This is not the time for you to show off alone." No, I caught them all in one fell swoop." Chen Lin grinned. "There are so many disaster beasts. If you kill them all, your rating will go up." "Hey Ming." In a ray of white light, the 7-meter-tall Haiming appeared instantly. "Ouch." The roar resounded through the sky, and even the scarlet evil energy that filled the surroundings was slightly shaken away. He Ming's deep blue vertical pupils looked coldly at the wave of disaster beasts in front of him. Boom! Directly entering the gigantic form, it suddenly grew to 28 meters, and its body was taller than some buildings. Looking down at the countless disaster beasts, He Ming exerted force on his limbs, and countless cracks instantly cracked and spread on the ground. The whole beast rushed out in an instant. Although its agility was reduced, its size was 4 times larger, making it still very fast. Just as he was about to crash into the swarm of disaster beasts, He Ming's whole body burst into black flames, like a missile that engulfed a range of dozens of meters. Boom! Under the burning of high temperature, all the disaster beasts could not hold on for more than a few seconds before they died in the roar of pain and turned into nutrients to help the dark flames grow stronger and spread. Everyone who saw this scene in the back looked dull. Roar! Suddenly, more than a dozen beasts jumped from the tall buildings on the left and right and attacked Chen Lin. Be careful. Seeing this, Lulu immediately warned. Her feet moved quickly, and she wanted to go over to support. However, the next second, her body stopped for a moment. I saw Chen Lin not retreating but advancing, using his swords and swords like chopping melons and vegetables, killing all the attacking beasts in the blink of an eye. How is it possible? Lulu opened her mouth wide. He obviously had no trace of the disaster at all, so he must be very weak. Suddenly, Lulu thought of a possibility. When she was searching for supplies half a year ago, she met someone who was also very strong without the disaster. These people destroyed the survivors' hidden bases, exposing the survivors to the disaster beasts and being killed. He would even break their legs directly after seeing them trying to run away. How can a group of inhuman things deserve to be said to be of the same race? Lulu has never forgotten this sentence to this day. Chen Lin is obviously the same type of person as them. Sister, Chen Lin is different from those before. He saved me twice. As if she could tell what Lulu was thinking, Lulu hurriedly explained, besides, he is still helping us now. What if he has some ulterior motive? Lulu took a deep breath, with a hint of hatred in her eyes. No matter what, stay away from him. Now that he has attracted the attention of most of the disaster beasts, we take the opportunity to break out. Captain Liu, there are no disaster beasts over there. A man with scales said. Following his finger, she saw that it was a commercial building with a back door to leave. Lulu immediately nodded. Okay, let's go. However, as they approached, a bolt of lightning suddenly struck. This is closed to traffic. A young man with blonde hair holding a book came out of the commercial building and looked at them calmly. Lulu's face darkened, and she raised the spear in her hand. I'll stop him, you go first. You can't do that. After the words fell, the book slowly rose, and as the golden young man chanted, thunderballs appeared one after another. On the other side, Chen Lin's eyelids suddenly jumped wildly, and a sense of crisis appeared in his heart. His expression changed instantly, and he blocked the sword to the side. Clang! The dagger stabbed the body of the knife, and the beautiful woman slowly appeared in front of Chen Lin. Aha! Chen Lin didn't hesitate, and the sword cut across her waist in an instant. As a result, the beautiful woman disappeared like a mirror, and stood again dozens of meters away, a little surprised. Your spiritual attributes are so high. Without saying a word, Chen Lin exerted force on his feet and rushed over. When the Qingli woman saw this, she immediately shouted, why don't you take action and wait for me to stand up to him? As soon as the words fell, a raging flame rushed out of the building like a cannonball and rushed towards Chen Lin. Boom! The two collided, sparks flew everywhere, and the flames fluttered like candles in the wind. Are you really a summoner? The thick man in the flames clicked his tongue. These basic attributes, not only spirit, speed and strength, are no worse than those of their specialized melee professions. The scorching flames hit his face. Chen Lin looked indifferent, and he cut him open with the sword. He glanced around and said slowly, as long as there are any left, come out. 4 people suddenly walked out from different directions. There was no doubt that they were all from the hostile camp who chose Mission 2. Upgraded copies are not allowed to kill each other. Once discovered, they will be wanted immediately. This is a convention of various countries at the Federation Conference. However, this is an exception when encountering promotion dungeons with camp divisions. Tisk, Tisk, I didn't expect that someone would actually choose Mission 1. Didn't your Daxia teach you how to decide when encountering a promotion dungeon to increase the probability of survival? The information at the beginning was so clear. The disaster beast obviously has the greatest advantage. If you have some brains, you should know how to choose. Don't talk nonsense with your eyes open. Our Daxia has written all this in the textbooks. He is a fish that has slipped through the education net. He is probably sleeping in class. Haha, I really can't understand how to kill the disaster beasts in such a big way, protect the survivors, and make it clear which camp you belong to. Brother, if you can directly transfer to the second level today, you should be an outstanding young talent in some city, the stout man said. There are no tasks that must be completed to transfer to this type of camp. A lower score will only make you better than others in the second level. Bad, but better than losing your life. Run away. Humph, that's not possible. The Qingli woman on the side laughed softly. The more we let the disaster female beast eat, the higher the score will be. He will stay and become a stepping stone for us to move forward. Seeing the 6 people treating him as a prey that fell into a trap, Chen Lin said calmly, have you ever heard of the saying that high-end hunters often appear in the form of prey? Everyone narrowed their eyes slightly. Even if there is one less person, 6 against 1, what do you think your chances of winning are? First of all, how can you be sure that no one chooses Mission 1 like me? Chen Lin silently put away the sword. Secondly, how can I not be sure to deal with you when I attract you here with such a high profile? What you just said was very beautiful. As a reward, how about I ask you to die? Chen Lin gradually laughed. The dishes have been served, it's time for Heiming to feast. Ouch! Brutal roars spread in all directions, and the pitch-black flames within a few hundred meters range were like snakes melting into the giant black wolf. In an instant, its size grew 8 meters larger again, and it looked even more ferocious. Like a wave of scourges, 7 or 88 people died in a short period of time, and most of the scarlet evil aura in the sky faded away. Deterrence. Everyone suddenly felt deep fear coming from their souls. Their brains couldn't stop sending out fear messages, and their hands and feet were trembling. Boom! Seeing the giant black wolf rushing towards them, chills instantly surged from the soles of the 4 people's feet to the Tianling Gai, and their brains were almost overwhelmed by fear. They didn't dare to move, as if a poisonous snake was wrapped around their necks, staring at them coldly. Finally, when the giant black wolf's claws were about to take the shot, 3 people restrained their brain reactions and ran away instantly. Boom! The last unlucky guy didn't even utter a scream. He instantly turned into flesh under the giant black wolf's claws and was swallowed up by the dark flames. Seeing this scene, the remaining 5 people, including the blonde young man not far away who was easily dealing with Lulu and others, suddenly broke out in cold sweat. They could see that this summoned object was very strong, but it wouldn't be a problem for a few people to hold it back for a while, and the rest could quickly deal with Chen Lin. I thought the process would be easy, but as a result, Chen Lin, as a summoner, had the same combat power as them to stop them. In addition to its physically powerful body and terrifying output, this summoned creature also has field control skills. Not to mention being held back, it would be difficult not to be wiped out by it within 3 minutes. Seeing the giant black wolf rushing towards the nearest person, the blonde young man gritted his teeth, knowing that he could not go on like this. Quickly chanting a mysterious language, violent thunder and lightning intertwined in an instant, condensing into chains around half a meter thick. Under his thoughts, the thunder and lightning chains shot through the air and instantly wrapped around the limbs and neck of the black giant wolf. Kill him quickly, I can only control 10. The blonde young man choked off his words before he could finish his words. I saw the giant black wolf's right paw pulling hard, and the lightning chain shattered directly, breaking free from the restraints. How is it possible? This is my A-level talent. The blonde young man was stunned. After Chen Lin's strengthening surgery, Heiming's strength increased again. He then pulled his left claw and almost all the chains were broken in an instant. Seeing this scene, everyone did not dare to hesitate and directly used their own trump cards. The beautiful woman turned into several shadows and stabbed at Chen Lin from different angles. Suddenly, countless ice picks appeared above her head and fell down, forcing her to keep retreating. Who is it? Qingli woman looked immediately. I saw a girl with long ice-colored hair and skin as white as snow walking towards her, the cold air flowing around her. The ground centered around her feet was covered with frost little by little, and the approaching disaster beasts froze into statues without any surprise. "I'll stop her." The strong man rushed straight away with fierce flames. The other 3 people took action at the same time, trying to kill Chen Lin instantly without giving them any chance of survival. However, at this moment, a loud roar sounded, "You fools, look directly at your father." Ridicule. In an instant, all 3 of them turned their heads and looked fiercely at the tall fat man holding a shield and charging towards him. As if they had the hatred to seize their wives, they changed their target at all costs and went towards the tall and fat man. Bang bang bang. All kinds of skills were thrown wildly on the shield. The tall fat man behind was miserable and his arms were shaking. When they were almost unable to hold on any longer, the giant black wolf that had broken free appeared behind the 3 people who had lost their minds. Just as the taunting time was over, the 3 of them were suddenly sweating profusely, thinking, "It's over." The next second, the claws tore through it and split it into 4. The other 2 people quickly wanted to escape, but their brains were filled with fear again, making it difficult for them to take a step forward. The deterrent effect of repeating the same trick is weakened, but a few seconds are enough for Haiming to kill them. Boom, boom. Slapping one person to death with one claw made the tall and fat man feel a little cruel. He swallowed his saliva and said quickly, "We are a team, we are a team." He was really worried that this summoned creature would kill him too, just like it killed 2 people. Fortunately, the giant black wolf didn't even look at him. He turned around and rushed towards the beautiful woman who was beating his master. Anger appeared in his vertical pupils. The beautiful woman in the middle of the battle noticed the situation with her peripheral vision, her face changed drastically, and her figure immediately disappeared and appeared dozens of meters away. This skill could only be used for the last time. Knowing that her defeat was certain, she ran away without looking back. However, Haiming pursued her fiercely, hitting the nearby building with his sharp claws and exploding directly, sending countless rubble shooting towards the Qingli woman. Looking at the gravel that was as dense as bullets, she immediately raised her hands to protect her head. Laugh. One by one, the gravel tore through the clothes, penetrated the skin, and blood flowed out. And in this moment of delay, Haiming caught up and raised his claws in an instant. "Wait, don't kill." Boom. Completely ignoring the beautiful woman who wanted to beg for mercy from Chen Lin, Haiming simply took a picture. Dark flames appeared and swallowed her whole body. A sudden burst of ice air flow occurred on the other side, like a shock wave, exploding towards the surroundings. Wherever he passed, buildings and life were turned into ice sculptures. But when it hit Haiming, it was just a layer of frost, and it slightly ignited a dark flame, as if nothing happened. The stout man was not so lucky and turned into a popsicle man. So far, there are 7 prey, and the last one is left. Chapter 21. The blonde young man's face was pale. He was considered relatively outstanding in his own country. The others are also about the same, and all fall into the mid-range category. But in their case, the advantage was still 7 versus 3, and they were crushed. Why are his summons so powerful? The blonde young man was a little desperate. Even a high-level summoned object would never behave in such a perverted manner. He even had no doubt that even if those 2 people didn't show up, Chen Lin could still sweep them away. This is the dominance that the basic attributes are much higher than those of the same level. No matter how powerful you are, you can overwhelm him with your hands. Seeing Chen Lin rushing towards him and losing his lightning chain, the blonde young man had no other means of defense and could only use a thunderbolt, then turned around and ran away. It's too late to leave now. Chen Lin had a calm expression and was as light as a swallow, and he dodged several moves. Aha! With a wave of the long knife, the body of the blonde young man was separated and blood spurted out. Although it was his first time to kill someone, Chen Lin's movements were still smooth, without any wavering. When they had murderous intentions towards him, Chen Lin was already mentally prepared to kill them all. Turning around and taking a look, Lu Yu and a dozen people were all seriously injured lying on the ground, but they were not dead. Chen Lin went over and handed the long knife to Lu Yu. After hundreds of killings, this disaster beast became sharper, with a faint red light showing. "It can give you," Lu Yu whispered. "No need." Chen Lin smiled lightly. "You need it more than me." Seeing the sincerity on his face without any trace of falsehood, Lulu felt very guilty now. She believed that Chen Lin really had no other plans. He also risked his life and saved them all. By the way, do you know about the disaster mother beast? Chen Lin asked. Of course. Lu Yu nodded. It is an existence that stands out from countless disaster beasts and rebirths consciousness. Where is its location? Downtown. Lu Yu replied subconsciously, and soon realized what he might want to do. Are you going to kill the disaster mother beast? Chen Lin nodded. Only by killing it can the score reach the highest level and bring a glimmer of salvation to the world. No. Lu Yu immediately shook her head. So far, no one has ever been able to kill the disaster mother beast, and no one has even heard it. Don't worry. Chen Lin touched her dark red horn. It will protect me. As he said that, he pointed at He Ming, who was coming behind him. Lu Yu clasped her hands together worriedly, knowing that she and Chen Lin had a normal relationship. She lowered her head and said, "Don't let anything happen to you." At this time, Su Linzu and the tall fat man came over and interrupted the two of them. As soon as the tall fat man saw Chen Lin, he immediately said excitedly, "Brother, your summon is so powerful, it astounds me." Hearing this, Chen Lin looked a little strange, and he remembered what he had seen on the internet. When a professional who switches to a shield weapon class sees the thigh he wants to hug, his first sentence will be, "Big brother." Su Linzu said, "We meet again, Chen Lin." Before Chen Lin could reply first, the tall and fat man said in shock, "Brother, you are actually the #1 scholar in Dongtian province, no wonder you are so awesome." Chen Lin, you two know each other and are both very powerful. She can't be Su Linzu, who is second in Dongtian province, right? I am truly blessed. After 8 lifetimes of training, I can be ranked in the same promotion dungeon with 2 big guys. The tall fat man laughed. Su Linzu was a little curious. How do you know me? Hey, don't you know? Ever since you took the 2nd place in Dongtian province, your No. 3 middle school has boasted that you are kind-hearted and charming. Although you were born as a commoner, you almost won the top prize in the province. You even boasted that you came to the province next to me. Quote. Su Linzu. Awesome. Chen Lin couldn't help laughing. Brother, you are even more powerful. Your No. 2 middle school said that except for the #1 scholar in the country's 24 major provinces, all of them are just rubbish to you. There are also pictures, and they are almost popular all over Dongtian province. Su Linzu smiled lightly, both each other. Quote. Chen Lin was silent. He just wanted to ask, who was the one who boasted about me like this? After chatting like this for a while, the 3 of them became more familiar with each other, and Chen Lin also learned that the tall, fat man's name was Luo Zan. He is from Chongjiang province, and due to his lack of output as a shield weapon, his results are not good or bad. The reason he was able to reach level 10 was because his parents took him to the wild to hunt mutant beasts. Chen Lin talked with the 2 about how he was going to kill the disaster mother beast and see if they would come. Luo Zan didn't even think about it and just told him that wherever Chen Lin went, he would go. Su Linzu also agreed. They hit it off immediately, and the 3 of them immediately set off towards the city center. Wait, Lulu spoke at this moment, took a deep breath and said, I can lead you. After thinking for a moment, Chen Lin shook his head and said, the situation there is unknown. If you go there, we won't be able to take care of you. Lulu's eyes were firm. This is the only thing I can do to help you. You saved us, and you saved Xiaoyu twice. Before she could finish speaking, Chen Lin interrupted. My salvation is not for you to take your life and lead me the way. If that's the case, then this is just taking you from hell to another hell. If you really want to do something, just point us in a direction. Seeing the smile on the young man's face, Lulu was stunned and stared at him blankly. Finally, he slowly raised his arm and pointed into the distance. On the road in the center of the city, the surrounding buildings are dilapidated and in ruins. The roads are potholed, damaged and cracked, and overgrown with weeds. Luo Zan ran with his face red and his ears red, gasping for air. Next to him was Su Linzu flying on a sword. According to her, this is using the masterful control of the ice to consume mana so that the condensed ice sword can carry her flying. When they heard her thoughts, Luo Zan and Chen Lin were both a little shocked. It turned out that they could still play like this. However, the shortcomings are obvious. It is not very fast and is only useful when on the road. Moreover, it is taboo for mages to consume mana randomly before a battle. In other words, her mental attributes are very high and she can withstand the consumption, and when she entered this dungeon, she learned the skill to speed up the recovery of mana. Luo Zhan felt a little bitter, looking at the giant black wolf in front of him who was carrying Chen Lin easily. Brother Lin, let him carry me on his back, I'm almost exhausted. Hearing this, He Ming turned around and glared at him with a ferocious expression. Luo Zhan immediately changed his words, no, 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 I suddenly feel full of power. Looking at this scene, Su Linzu laughed lightly. Soon, the three of them arrived in front of a bridge. On the opposite side, the scarlet evil energy turned into substance and filled the tall buildings, and only the vague outlines could be seen. Finally, we're here. Luo Zhan was panting like an ox, his whole body lying on the shield that was nearly 2 meters in size. Suddenly, as if they were attracted to them, the disaster beasts lit up their red eyes from all around and swarmed in crazily. Kill all humans and bring them back. This is the will of the Mother Queen transmitted to all disaster beasts through evil energy. He Ming immediately launched a threat, and then rushed towards the swarm of disaster beasts that had filled the entire street in a short period of time, and black flames exploded. Chen Lin jumped down in advance, and immediately realized something was wrong when he saw the piles of disaster beasts coming from the bridge and 2 other directions. The Calamity Mother discovered us. Does this thing have clairvoyance? Luo Zhan was startled, looking at the red tide pressing down all over the air, like a ferocious beast with its bloody mouth open, making people feel suffocated. They should have their own special way of communication. Chen Lin shook his head, pulled out the blade of his staff, and slew the beasts coming toward the right. Luo Zhan immediately followed. Brother Lin, let me take care of your injuries. Su Linzu summoned the magic ball and slowly closed her eyes. When she opened them the next second, her eyes were covered with ice blue, slightly bright, like an indifferent god. Boom! In an instant, a hard ice wall tens of meters high condensed on the bridge, resisting the beast for a moment. Then, hundreds of sharp ice picks appeared on her head, emitting cold air. With Su Linzu's thoughts moving slightly, all the ice picks were shot at the swarm of disaster beasts coming from behind. Laugh! The bodies and brains of countless disaster beasts were penetrated, and flesh, blood and blood flew everywhere. Then, countless ice cones regrouped and continued to shoot towards them as if they were endless. Roar! Countless disaster beasts roared in confusion, falling down in rows like cutting leeks. 666, Sister Su is awesome. Luo Zhan caught sight of this scene out of the corner of his eye and started flattering her. It was clearly visible that Su Linzu's ice cone condensed at a significantly slower speed, with a black line on her face. On the other side, He Ming passed through the swarm of disaster beasts, like a black flame dragon that was unstoppable. The black flames continued to explode and expand, growing in size. Boom! The entire street was filled with a sea of pitch-black fire, and the scarlet evil energy was swallowed up. The nearby buildings were not spared either, collapsing under the scorching heat. Almost all the disaster beasts could not hold out for more than a few seconds before dying from the burning. A large area was cleared in a short period of time. But soon, more disaster beasts swarmed forward, and it seemed that they couldn't kill them all. If you can see it from a high place, all the disaster beasts in the entire city are gathering here from all directions. Even if they encounter some survivors, they won't care. A man's legs were trembling as he looked at the beasts that kept passing by. His whole body was wet with cold sweat and he didn't even notice it. He was secretly looking for food, but suddenly he ran into countless disaster beasts rushing towards him. He instantly lost the ability to speak and stood there in despair, waiting to die. Just when he thought he was going to be torn into pieces, those beasts didn't even look at him. Then, what happened? It wasn't until the last disaster beast disappeared from sight for a long time that the man dared to move, looking at the direction they were running in with a look of horror on his face. Lu Yu and others who returned to the base at the same time discovered something unusual. Seeing the disaster beasts running madly towards the city center, they instantly understood that Chen Lin might have really made the disaster beast feel threatened. Thinking of this, worry appeared on everyone's faces. On the other side, Chen Lin gradually felt the pressure increasing and injuries began to appear on his body. Under his feet were hundreds of corpses, but compared to the scourges that were still coming, they were not even 1,000. There are dozens or even millions of disaster beasts in the entire city. Even if they are exhausted, they cannot kill them all. Seeing more than a dozen sword demons rushing towards them, Chen Lin immediately asked Luozan to get on top while he killed them from the side. At the same time, he immediately said, "Capture the thief first, capture the king, Haiming, go directly to kill the disaster mother beast." Ouch! Hearing Chen Lin's words, Haiming immediately turned around and rushed towards the bridge. Through 2 evolutions, the progressive level of life allows it to feel the existence that threatens itself. On the opposite side, there is a dangerous aura, which is probably the mother beast of disaster that the owner mentioned. Boom! With jet black flames all over his body, Haiming smashed into the ice wall in an instant, flying away countless beasts that were blocked along the way, and headed towards the center of the city shrouded in thick evil aura. Roar! A roar rose into the sky and resounded throughout the earth. When Haiming arrived on the other side of the bridge, a dark red tentacle that was more than 10 meters long suddenly emerged from the evil aura and struck it instantly. Boom! Several buildings were knocked down by Haiming one after another, and they did not stop until they were more than 20 meters away. Ouch! The roar shook the dust away, and Haiming stood up from the countless concrete and gravel, scanning the surroundings with his cold vertical pupils. In the invisible evil aura, dark red tentacles hundreds of meters long swam around, surrounding it. The huge eyeball, which is more than 60 meters tall, is slowly revealed, and countless eyes are all staring at Haiming, as if they are examining it. Boom boom! The jet black flames erupted violently, and Haiming opened his mouth slightly and roared. The huge eyeballs were filled with fear, as if they sensed the danger of the dark flames, and retreated in fear. Boom! As if he knew that the longer he dragged on, the worse it would be, Haiming launched an attack directly, his body rushed out instantly, and the ground cracked open as it couldn't bear the force. Under Haiming's all-out sprint, the surroundings were shaking slightly, and the dilapidated building was shaking. The countless eyes of the huge eyeball suddenly shrank together, and 15 dark red tentacles swung towards it. Boom! Boom! The buildings were smashed with rubble flying and collapsed under the load. The ground also cracked with countless cracks spreading in all directions. Under the powerful force of 15 dark red tentacles, it was like a major earthquake erupting. Looking at the dark red tentacles thrown away by the evil spirit, Haiming dodged as much as he could. But if he couldn't avoid the black light emerging from his sharp claws, he swung it away. However, the outer layer of the dark red tentacles is covered with hard material and cannot be torn apart at all, making a sound like iron friction. Boom! Haiming was suddenly hit by one of the dark red tentacles and flew backwards. His 44-meter-long body collapsed buildings one after another, leaving a deep mark of more than 10 meters long on the ground. Countless vehicles were crushed to pieces. After finally getting close to each other, Haiming relied on his tyrannical strength and defense after becoming giant to engage in close combat and directly suppress him. But now facing the repulsion of the giant eyeball tentacles, there is no way at all. Boom boom boom! More dark red tentacles swam after him and smashed at Haiming crazily. In an instant, it was hammered towards the ground like a nail, its limbs gradually bent and sank a little, and the surroundings vibrated and roared. Ouch! The pitch-black flames exploded in the roar, just like a volcano erupting. Instantly, the scorching heat exploded and spread in all directions, forcing back the huge eyeball. Haiming rushed out instantly, the magic power in his body was consumed at an extremely fast speed, and he directly chose to fight to the death. On the other side, Chen Lin was struggling to support his body. One side of his face was stained red with blood, and his clothes were torn and scarred. There were gaps in the blade, and it was on the verge of damage. Luozan on the side was not much better, his shield was dented everywhere, and the corners of his mouth were bleeding from the shock. Su Linzu stood on the icicle and relied on the 2 people to protect her, quickly recovering her mana. Thousands of corpses of disaster beasts were lying around them, and their blood almost turned into a stream. "I can't hold on anymore, Sister Su, how long do you want?" Luozan stood firmly in front of Chen Lin, holding back the charging beast and shouting. At this time, Chen Lin was also a little solemn. Through the connection with Haiming's soul, he could faintly feel that Haiming's current life breath was slowly declining. "It's also in trouble. All right." Suddenly Su Linzu opened her eyes flashing with an icy blue light. "The frost is extinguished. The air in the sky and the earth instantly dropped to 0 degrees, and the cold air flowed violently, turning into a roaring 100-meter frost dragon. In an instant, the bodies of all disaster beasts within a few hundred meters were frozen bit by bit until they were unable to move. "You'd better stand next to me." Hearing this, Luo Zhan and Chen Lin went over without hesitation. At this moment, the frost dragon roared up to the sky, and then suddenly rushed to the ground. Boom! In an instant, the ground exploded hundreds of meters away, the shock spread to 1,000 meters, and countless disaster beasts turned into ice crystal fragments and flew away. Luo Zhan was so stunned that he even forgot about the flattery he was good at. Chen Lin was a little surprised. He had always heard that Su Linzu's strength lay in hiding her profession. Now it seemed that she had hidden it a bit deeply. In terms of the power of this move alone, I am afraid it will not be lower than an S-level talent. The reason why Chen Lin was able to suppress her in the college entrance examination was entirely because Haiming's normal combat power was high and he could maintain his peak state for a long time. If it's more explosive output, Su Linzu is better. However, even if this wave of clearance kills hundreds of disaster beasts in an instant, it is only a drop in the bucket compared to the dozens or millions of disaster beasts in the entire city. Even if there is Haiming here, he will only be overwhelmed, and it is impossible to kill him until he is exhausted. It was with this in mind that Chen Lin let him go to the city center alone to find the disaster mother beast for a duel. But the effect is still there, at least it gives them a chance to escape. After taking a look at Haiming's evolution value, which was only 30 points away from being full, Chen Lin made a quick decision: let's go to the disaster mother beast. Now the only way to have a chance of survival is to allow Haiming to evolve on the spot. Otherwise, even if the three of them can escape the siege. But if Haiming is abandoned, he will probably die here. Su Linzu took the lead, constantly releasing skills to kill the beasts blocking the bridge, while Chen Lin and Luo Zhan were responsible for cleaning up the flanks. Soon the three of them arrived in the city center, followed by countless disaster beasts. This place was devastated by the black underworld and the giant eyeball. It was like a ruin, and not a single intact building existed. Luo Zhan was frightened when he saw it. This is too terrifying. Ouch! A roar came from the evil spirit in front, and the three of them rushed forward without hesitation. Soon, they saw Haiming, who was seriously injured and almost dying, with a lot of blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. But its sharp claws still clung to the ground, and no matter how dark red tentacles were pulled out, it refused to retreat and walked away step by step. Being close is its only hope of winning, so it cannot retreat even a little bit. "I'll lead the disaster beast over," Luo Zhan taunted, "and share some of the damage." Hearing Chen Lin's words, Luo Zhan trembled all over. "Am I going to die?" "Isn't it possible? Classmate Su will be there to help you, don't worry." After saying that, Chen Lin ran directly to Haiming. Luo Zhan could only grit his teeth and bite the bullet and use taunt on the giant eyeball. Fortunately, his level was too low and he didn't have much effect. The huge eyeball only looked at it with a few eyes, and then he casually slapped it away with a dark red tentacle. Seeing the huge thing falling from the sky with the shadow above his head, Luo Zhan turned pale and quickly raised his shield. B-level talent, Wall of the Earth. A thick yellow rock wall suddenly condensed. But he felt it was not enough and used several more skills in succession. At the same time, Su Linzu's magic ball shone slightly, and 5 ice walls quickly erected in front of Luo Zhan. Boom! The ice wall did not last for a second, and was shattered under the impact of the dark red tentacles, finally blocking 1/3 of the power. Boom! The rock wall held up for a few seconds and broke apart. The dark red tentacles hit the shield, and a burst of dust instantly rose from the ground. When it fell on Luo Zhan, he felt like the sky was shattering and the earth was cracking. He felt severe pain in his chest and spit out a large mouthful of blood. When the dark red tentacles were retracted, his tiny body instantly fell to the ground motionless. Su Linzu's eyes suddenly became solemn. The strength of this disaster mother beast could only reach the level of the 3rd-tier boss. I don't know if Chen Lin's summons can withstand it. Haiming, swallow these beasts. After getting closer, Chen Lin shouted, and at the same time, he quickly turned the sword blade into a staff shape, and immediately applied the recovery and strengthening techniques. A faint white light lit up on his body. Haiming's vertical pupils were shocked. he roared fiercely, and tore open the dark red tentacles thrown out. After 560 points of strength attribute, the increase is 20%, but the effect is completely different from when it was dozens of times. Roar! The huge eyeball screamed, and the tentacles retracted. Taking advantage of this moment, Heiming rushed towards the wave of disaster beasts, and the dark flames spread immediately like a lotus in full bloom. In a short period of time, blockbusters were directly burned to death. The giant eyeball noticed something was wrong, and immediately issued an order through evil energy to keep all the disaster beasts away from here. But it's too late. Countless dark flames poured into He Ming's body with devouring energy, and the evolution value was complete. Chen Lin didn't hesitate and started evolving under the panel click. Boom! The terrifying black power suddenly erupted from the depths of He Ming's body, sweeping across his body in an instant, and rushed out to form a dark pillar of light rising into the sky. In the dark beam of light, He Ming's body grew 10 meters in an instant, and directly grew to 84 meters in height under the giant transformation. His body length directly exceeded 100 meters, and he looked as powerful as a natural disaster beast. Congratulations, your summon Heiming has acquired the skill, Swiftness. Congratulations, your summoned Black Underworld Giant talent has been promoted from C to B level. Congratulations, your summoned Black Flame talent has been promoted from C to B level. Congratulations, your summon Heiming has gained a new talent, King Kong Body B. Power 141 Right Pointing Arrow 201. Physique 145 Right Pointing Arrow 205. Agility 144 Right Pointing Arrow 204. Magic Power 140 Right Pointing Arrow 200. All attributes have been improved by 60. Chen Lin was delighted and his thoughts moved slightly. Gigantization B. Increase your body size by 4 times, and increase your strength, defense, and speed by 400%. Flame B. Create your own flame. Temperature and Magic Hook. Characteristics. Confuse any 2 powers within itself and turn into flames with different effects. Vajra Body B. The whole body is attached with the power of Vajra, linked to strength and constitution, and cannot be shaken. Another comprehensive enhancement. Chen Lin breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, according to the school's knowledge, there would be almost no third-level strength in a copy, unless you were a monster who was absolutely invincible against opponents of the same level as yourself. He didn't expect that he would reach this level without knowing it. A bit unexpected. Chen Lin thought that He Ming would have to evolve 2 more times before he could reach the point of being absolutely invincible among his peers. Moreover, the giant eyeball just restrains Heimei, otherwise even if it cannot be beaten, it can still run away and will not fall into a certain death dilemma. For 2 reasons, I can only say that my luck is somewhat bad. However, now that He Ming has evolved, it will be your turn to be unlucky. The dark beam of light that shot up to the sky and dispersed the haze slowly weakened until it disappeared. It was like a gap was broken in the sky, revealing a cloudless area. The sunshine that had not shone for a long time came, but it was still blocked by the evil spirit. Heiming's vertical pupils stared at the huge eyeballs, and his whole body took on a new look. The black wolf fur and the hard skin were covered with a faint golden light, making him look magical and domineering. The huge eyeball trembled. At the moment when the black power burst out, it was so frightened that it could not move due to the terrifying aura that was eager to swallow everything and transcend everything. But what follows is endless rage. It can also devour evolution, and it is the strongest existence that can become. Roar! The thick dark red tentacles were thrown away together, and even the air flow made a roar. Seeing this, Chen Lin left here quickly. The 2 giant beasts started fighting and could kill people if they were not careful. Boom! Heiming is as solid as a rock, standing still, with 15 dark red tentacles whipping on his body, only the golden light trembles slightly. Ouch! The dark flames that merged the 2 innate powers of greed, gluttony, and gigantism exploded instantly. The dark red tentacles wrapped around He Ming's body were burned by the terrifying high temperature and were released one after another, twisting and rolling in the air. Boom! The dark flames gradually formed a shadow of a ferocious beast that was more than 400 meters tall, more ferocious than the Black Ming, and extremely violent. In an instant, the temperature within a kilometer range rose rapidly, the weeds withered, the ground became dry and cracked, and the center turned into a sea of black fire. Every time an additional talent power is fused into the flame, the power is not as simple as 1 plus 1, but directly multiplied several times. In the distance, Su Linzu was slightly shocked. This summoned object is so terrifying, and the way it becomes stronger inexplicably is unheard of. Seeing Chen Lin running back with all his strength and sweating profusely, her thoughts moved slightly, and instantly a cold wave appeared all around, and a coolness went straight into her body, which was extremely comfortable. Student Su, thank you very much. You're welcome. Su Linzu chuckled. Suddenly, Chen Lin felt his feet being grabbed by something. He looked down and saw Luo Zan crawling over with blood all the way. He raised his bleeding face and gave a thumbs up. Brother Lin, you are so awesome. Luo Zan only has one thought in his mind right now. He has this thigh firmly in his grasp and no one can stop it. How did you become like this? Chen Lin quickly helped him up. Luo Zan was a little moved, thinking that Chen Lin probably recognized him. From now on, he finally has a powerful big brother to protect his tank profession that can only take beatings. It's okay, Brother Lin, I have a long life and I can't die. Hearing this, Chen Lin silently let go of his hand and stood up again to watch the two giant beasts fighting each other in the distance with Su Linzu. Luo Zan. Ouch! Haiming rushed to the huge eyeball, and as it raised its sharp claws, the huge evil beast's shadow also raised its sharp claws condensed with dark flames, and swung them down instantly. Roar! Several of the eyes of the huge eyeball were blinded instantly, and he screamed in pain, and the large amount of blood flowing out dyed the rest of the eyes red. Its tentacles waved wildly, whipping Haiming's body, but it couldn't cause any harm. Roar! This scene immediately caused the huge eyeball to roar, causing countless evil spirits to surge over the entire city center and quickly merge into the body. In an instant, its size increased dramatically, and its dark red tentacles began to grow countless sharp barbs. This was originally an important power that it had reserved for countless years to evolve to the next level of life, but now it can only be used in advance. Thinking of this, all the eyes of the huge eyeballs showed anger. Roar! I must kill you. Dark red tentacles wrap around Haiming from all directions, forcibly resisting the high temperature of the dark flames devouring life, wrapping and strangling it. The golden light blocked the tentacle barbs, preventing them from piercing. The two sides attacked each other crazily, the ground shook continuously, and roars resounded through the sky. A few hours passed, and countless buildings were not intact and shattered into rubble. Only the black ghost was still standing on the ruins. Ouch! The huge roar shook the air, and the scarlet evil energy that had been shrouding the city center finally completely dissipated with the roar. The countless eyes of the huge eyeball dimmed, already dead, and the whole body was slowly swallowed up by the black flames. Finally beaten to death, Luo Zan's heart relaxed when he mentioned it. Chen Lin and Su Linzu also laughed. After killing the disaster mother beast and thousands of disaster beasts, their ratings will definitely be extremely high. Soon, Luo Zan also realized it and looked extremely excited. Although he and Su Linzu only helped to resist the damage from one blow, they could still share a little bit, not to mention they had killed so many disaster beasts before. In promotion dungeons divided into factions, the scores are distributed completely according to contribution, which is very fair. It will not happen that if you kill the boss, the scores will all belong to you. Moreover, for auxiliary occupations such as shields, the score acquisition is different. Therefore, he made a rough estimate, and his rating should not be low. Thinking about how my father and mother warned me not to advance rashly before entering the promotion dungeon, I am different from those geniuses who directly pass the second level through their own efforts. There is a huge gap. If they knew that they had received a high score in the camp promotion copy, they would definitely be very happy. Luo Zan was excited. After the battle, the three of them sat together. It was getting dark. Since there was no lighting, the surroundings were a little dark. Luo Zan quickly found some wood in the ruins and lit it with the flames of Haiming. Without the innate power of greed and gluttony, the flames are of normal color, otherwise it would be a bit humorous. In the evening, the three of them planned to rest until tomorrow and then leave the dungeon. Originally, Chen Lin was planning to let Haiming continue to kill the other disaster beasts, but after watching it fight for several hours and lying there exhausted, he decided to forget it. This is a bit unscrupulous. From entering the dungeon to being promoted to the present, for more than 10 hours, Haiming was either fighting or rushing. It was too hard. Now that he could finally rest, Chen Lin was too embarrassed to let him work overtime, so he could only reluctantly let the beasts in the city go. The next day, following a prompt, the three people disappeared. The time has come, let's start settling the scores based on your performance. A total of 8,564 disaster beasts have been killed, the mother disaster beast has been successfully killed, and hundreds of survivors in Ning'an City have been protected. Perhaps this move will bring a change to the world. Congratulations, your rating is perfect. Career promotion right pointing arrow summon sword master rare unique growth attribute 5 right pointing arrow 10. Description: this is a strange profession that was born because of you. If your opponent thinks that you are just a powerful summoner, he will find out that he is completely wrong when he gets close. Congratulations, you have learned a new professional skill, magic sword. In the room, Chen Lin's figure suddenly appeared. 24 hours later, he was teleported back by the promoted copy. Looking at the board frame that appeared in front of him, he was a little surprised and his thoughts changed slightly. Magic sword. Condensing a sharp sword between reality and reality, ignoring any real defense of the target, causing a mental trauma. Power is based on mental attributes. After reading it, Chen Lin's eyes were surprised. Realistic defense is all defense methods that can be seen, such as Heiming's Vajra body, the wall of protection, etc. Ignoring these direct trauma to the target's spirit is equivalent to the fact that as long as the opponent has no mental defense means, or the mental attributes are not high, no matter how fleshy the opponent is, he can be killed instantly. Take Luo Zhan as an example. Even if he uses all his skills and talents, Chen Lin's magic sword will cut him down. At best, he will become a fool, at worst, his spirit will be broken and he will die. This skill is simply mind-numbing. Chen Lin immediately tried to use it. Instantly, a half-meter-sized, transparent sword with countless lines engraved on it floated in his hand. His mental power was also consumed as he condensed the magic sword. Chen Lin shook his head and put the magic sword back. It seems that this skill can only be used as a trump card. I silently glanced at the window. The sun was shining brightly outside, and the speed of time in the two worlds seemed to be different. When I opened the door and came out, the living room was empty, but there were plates of food on the table, covered with plastic wrap, with a note on them saying, "Remember to heat it up and eat it." Chen Lin smiled slightly, heated it briefly, finished eating, and turned on his phone. Two messages applying to add friends came into view. They were Luo Zhan and Su Linzu. Before they were transferred to the transfer dungeon, they exchanged contact information with each other to continue their friendship. Chen Lin chose to agree, then scrolled down and immediately saw the message from Lu Wen. Recruitment tutors from top universities will arrive at 2 o'clock today, and you are ready to visit the school. After thinking about nothing else, he replied with a nice word and immediately stood up and left. In Fanyan No. 2 Middle School, Lu Wen was waiting at the school gate. When he saw Chen Lin, he came up immediately. You are finally here. This time, 5 top universities have all sent recruitment tutors to No. 2 Middle School. His voice was a little excited. With this honor, the smile on Principal Li's face never stopped. This is unprecedented in Fanyan City, and their goal is obviously Chen Lin, the top scholar in the East. Walking into the number 2 Middle School, passing by many first and second grade students, they all stopped immediately and looked at Chen Lin with excitement. In fact, a schoolgirl who was well prepared immediately came forward with a pink letter, handed it to Chen Lin, and then ran away with a blush on her face. The corner of Lu Wen's mouth twitched when he saw this, and he quickly reminded, "Don't mess around, it will harm your junior sister, and the impact will be great if word spreads." Chen Lin nodded and silently put the letter away. After all, it was someone else's affection, so he couldn't throw it away. Along the way, not only were there more and more eyes, but many schoolgirls also followed suit and came forward with blushing faces. After a while, Chen Lin's clothes were greatly bulged by the love letters of the young girl with aroused love. Lu Wen looked at him with a black line on his face, as if he didn't exist, right? Finally, the two of them walked to the office, and Lu Wen immediately closed the door to block a group of curious students who were following them. Chen Lin shook his head. This was almost impossible to happen in his previous life, but it was very normal here because everyone admired professionals with strong combat capabilities. In society, this trend is even more serious. Lu Wen took out a dragon-shaped ring from the drawer and said, "This is a reward from the city government. They watched the video about your performance in the college entrance examination and specially found a piece of equipment with 2 forms of sword and staff. There are also general 5th level skill books." Upon hearing this, Chen Lin's eyes lit up. There was no doubt that these were the items he needed at the moment. The sword and the staff, an ordinary quality piece of equipment, has withstood high-intensity battles for too long. It has been damaged and needs to be replaced. A universal 5th level skill book that can be understood by all professions and is worth at least millions. Chen Lin took the ring and put his mind into it, and 2 pieces of information instantly appeared. Heavenly Quan Sword Staff, excellent effect. In the form of a heavenly sword, blessed by golden sharpness, everything can be indestructible. In the form of a heavenly staff, you gain a halo of wisdom, continuously restore your mental power, and increase the effect of any skill by 50%. Close at hand, level 5 effect. Ignore the distance of 100 meters and arrive instantly in 1 step. One word, strong. Chen Lin was extremely satisfied. Close is also carefully selected by the city government. It is used to instantly distance you. It is very suitable for summoners. Lu Wen explained. Ahem, that's right. He suddenly looked a little embarrassed. Sign your name on this dress, and write it carefully. After saying that, he took out a gray pleated skirt from the drawer. Seeing his strange look, Lu Wen had no choice but to explain. Last night, your college entrance examination video was posted on the TV news and caused a big sensation. My daughter watched it all night. Knowing that you are my student, she asked me to ask you to do it. She signed. Chen Lin was stunned. Why did he steal the teacher's house? At almost 2 o'clock, a black car stopped at number 2 middle school, and 5 men and women walked out. Li Mingji stepped forward with a solemn expression, showing no signs of neglect. As a tutor from a top university, they are undoubtedly 5th level professionals. Even the mayor must treat them with courtesy. Arriving at the reception room, concubine Ji, who sat down lazily, asked calmly, "Where is Chen Lin?" Come right away, come right away." Just as Li Mingji finished speaking, 2 knocks came from outside. Then the door was pushed open, and Lu Wen came in with a boy of 17 or 18 years old, with a fair face, a handsome man, and a tall figure. Concubine Ji looked at it carefully from bottom to top and commented, "Yes, this appearance is suitable for me to enter my Skylark Academy." Feng Yi, who was sitting on the side, was immediately dissatisfied. "Forget about spreading rumors outside. Does your young academy really recruit people based on their reputation?" "Yes, our 5 universities are the face of Daxia, aren't you being a fool?" The 2 directly jointly condemned her severely, and then turned around and extended an olive branch to Chen Lin. "Student Xiao Chen, choose Qingtian Academy. You can choose 3 of various resources as an admission gift. It's only 3 things, just leave it to the beggars. I think you are questioning the weight of someone else's Dongtian champion." Yes, classmate Xiao Chen, he looks down on you, so don't suffer from him." Li Mingji and Lu Wen were stunned at this scene. Chen Lin was also a little stunned. He would never be able to learn this skill of talking vertically and horizontally in just a few years. It reminded him of the current situation of the internet in his previous life, and he couldn't help but want to praise it. Wonderful. The atmosphere was a little anxious for a while. Anyone who dared to recruit Chen Lin would be targeted by the other 4 people. In the beginning, it was not like this for top universities to recruit top students. They were high-ranking universities, standing at the top of the Great Shah, so they had a reputation. Until someone couldn't afford to play because he hadn't recruited a top pick in a year, so he began to study hard and use tricks, and his style of painting became crooked. Nowadays, the recruitment of the top pick every year is full of quarrels and gunpowder. For this reason, top universities even hire people to teach the essence of the tutors they recruit. Classmate Xiao Chen, I have studied your college entrance examination video 10 times. That kind of swordsmanship is enough to show that you like swords. Come to my Bailong Academy, and I can have one-on-one guidance from instructors who specialize in swordsmanship. Make sure your swordsmanship is even better. Haha, you can see this after reading it 10 times. It only shows that your Bailong Academy is just a loser. Geniuses with great potential have to be buried. That's right, Xiao Chen is the right person to come to Yuntian Academy. We can take your mother and sister there together, and everything in your life can be arranged. Okay, if you play the emotional card, Yu Yuntian will lose your face. You have the nerve to say that when you saw that you couldn't compete with the last Dongtian champion, you directly used your own daughter to win over you. Are you human? Fart, they are in love with each other. Do I please you asterisk asterisk asterisk. The scene gradually became chaotic. Concubine Ji took a breath, sorted out her thoughts, looked at Chen Lin and suddenly said, "You have reached the first turn, you haven't started summoning yet, right? As long as you enter Skylark, I can apply directly to you and collect the best materials for you to summon, increasing the chance of the top summons appearing. Also, your black wolf must have a talent for growth. If you need any resources, just ask. Besides, we Yunk can provide all the conditions they mentioned above, including giving away our daughter." Hearing these words, the other four fell silent. Although Chen Lin's score was a full 20,000, even from their perspective, it felt like a lot. But there are so many monsters this year. There are no less than 10 people with scores higher than 20,000. If recruiting here in Dongtian consumes too many resources, it will be difficult to compete with others later. Thinking of this, the four people who thought it was not worth it silently gave up. Seeing this scene, Concubine Ji breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Chen Lin expectantly. "How is it?" However, he only shook his head. "The rest is fine, but just give it to my daughter." Concubine Ji's brows relaxed and she was delighted. "Okay, if you like to be more mature, I can actually do that too." Hearing this, Feng Yi couldn't stand it anymore. "Are you here eating young grass? Isn't it possible?" Concubine Ji's breasts were slightly straightened out. Under her tight white shirt, her big watermelons were bulging, and her figure was extremely eye-catching. Chen Lin wanted to say that he didn't mean it, but when he reached his mouth, he suddenly stopped. In the end, Chen Lin chose Yunk Academy, not because Concubine Ji was so good-looking, but mainly because she offered too much. The purpose had been accomplished. The 5 people did not stay any longer and were ready to leave for the next province. Concubine Ji asked if she should follow them through the 24 major provinces of Daxia and then return to Yunk Academy, or should she wait until the enrollment time and come by herself. Chen Lin chose the latter. After thinking about nothing else, Chen Lin said goodbye to Lu Wen and Li Mingji. Back home, Li Weiru was cooking in the kitchen, while Chen Li was sitting on the sofa watching TV. When she noticed that he was back, her sister immediately put down her cross-legged legs and ran over with a bound. "Brother, you seem to be popular. Many people in the school are talking about you. It's the same everywhere I work. They all mention you, Shaolin." Li Weiru came out with a plate and said with a smile. "Many former relatives called home and asked if the Dongtian champion mentioned in the news was you. However, I didn't say anything, otherwise a group of unknown people would come tonight." Chen Lin smiled. More and more people began to pay attention to the college entrance examination, and social media and news were also vigorously promoting it. These people who pass the examination will be the strong shield for Daxia's future. Therefore, being the #1 scholar in the province is naturally very dazzling and will arouse some connections with people who are not familiar with him or have even met him in person. After dinner, Chen Lin put away the dishes and cleaned the housework as usual. Then, with his sister rolling around coquettishly, he had no choice but to release Heiming, and he returned to his room to recuperate and wait for the time to enter school. 2 days later, downstairs, Li Weiru drove over and prepared to take Chen Lin to the airport. Chen Li got into the car and suddenly thought of something. She opened her eyes and said, "Can we not take the car?" "Then how are you going to get there?" Li Weiru looked at her. "Let my brother's Heiming carry us on his back. It's huge and faster than a car." Li Weiru hit her on the head with a black thread. "It doesn't care if it helps your brother fight, it still wants to accompany you to do mischief." About half an hour later, when they arrived at the airport, Li Weiru looked at Chen Lin who was about to leave, with worry in her eyes. "Be careful when you go to school, and give priority to safety." "Don't worry, Mom, I know." He heard it countless times along the way, but Chen Lin still nodded solemnly. Seeing him turn around and leave, Li Weiru raised her hand, her mouth trembling slightly. She knew that the further Chen Lin traveled, the more he would bear, and he would need to risk his life to fight alien civilizations and mutant beasts. Chen Li saw her mother's worry and comforted her. It's okay. My brother is so powerful and Heiming protects them. They will always be safe and sound. The provincial capital of Juchong, Zhongtian City, Yonk Academy. Countless students with top-notch college entrance examination scores from across the country are gathered here. At a glance, there are many geniuses who have even turned around. This made many people who were arrogant suddenly restrain themselves and did not dare to relax. At this time, the old students at the reception point looked at the venue and marveled at each other. They have always heard that this year's college entrance examination students are very strong. They didn't pay much attention to it at first, but now they think it's a bit exaggerated. Geniuses are everywhere, and excellent people are not as good as dogs. This description fits perfectly. I watched the national score announcement. The top scorer with the lowest score had 19,000 points, and the top scorer even reached 30,000 points, which directly broke the record for the highest score in the college entrance examination. Our Skylark is inferior to the other 4 top universities. We only recruited 3 top picks, and the remaining 21 rejected the olive branch. Alas, the difference is not even a star. It would be good to have one. I heard that the Dongtian champion named Chen Lin was killed by an ordinary profession, which is interesting. I've seen his introduction. He's from a commoner background. His family has no money and no background. It's really impressive that he can achieve this level by himself. But compared to the number 1 pick at the top, he is still far behind. He has no talent, and his profession is ordinary. He can't go very far with just a powerful summon. During the conversation, there was a sudden noise on the side, and they looked over subconsciously. I saw 2 girls with fair and flawless faces, the same tall figure, and about 70% similar, getting off the pickup car. Both of them have their long hair tied into a single ponytail. One's eyebrows reveal a heroic spirit, simple and sassy, and the other is gentle and gentle. Someone immediately recognized them. They were the top picks in Chongjiang province. Since they were in a team, they were ranked first together. Old Ma, what are you going to do? The old student who was called Lao Ma slapped the grabbing hand away and said righteously, of course I am leading the way for the 2 junior girls. This is an obligation that a senior must fulfill. Wait a minute, please leave this important task to me. Another old student stopped in front of him. Just when the 2 sides were about to start a fight, 2 girls at the reception point had already trotted forward and greeted the 2 Chongjiang champions with a smile. Seeing this, they looked at each other silently, loosened each other's collars, and walked away without looking back. Soon, another special car arrived and a handsome young man stepped out. Everyone looked at him instantly, with curious expressions on their faces. Is he Chen Lin? Other than being handsome, there's nothing special about him. Yes, at first glance, he is a vixen who will bring disaster to the country and the people. Brother, you are so good at describing it. Many girls' eyes lit up when they saw Chen Lin. This impeccable appearance was perfect. A beautiful senior girl knew that there is no reason to be quick and slow, so she immediately stepped forward and said, Junior, let me take you to register your information, okay? As she spoke, she tucked her hair behind her ears, exposing her white and smooth neck. Excuse me, senior sister. Chen Lin smiled lightly. Seeing this scene, many old students gritted their teeth. Although there were more girls in Yonk Academy, they were generally very good-looking and difficult to catch. They saw that as soon as Chen Lin came, beautiful girls started to criticize him. How could they not hate him? Bang! A boy with tears in his eyes slammed the table, shocking the people on the side. Brother, what's wrong with you? That girl, I've had a crush on for a year. I finally got the contact information yesterday, and I'm only 1 step away from victory. Are you more than 1 step behind? On the other side, Chen Lin quickly registered the information under the careful guidance of the enthusiastic senior sister, and then walked to the residence assigned to him. Brother Chen Lin, using this mobile phone specially made by the school, you can connect to the Tianqi system and find out a lot of information that was previously unavailable. The Apocalypse system is a product of the integration of technology and professions. It is responsible for all logistics operations. You can buy any skill books, equipment, and various resources you want. Of course, this requires sufficient credits or contribution points. In addition, you can also use it to enter exclusive communication forums between schools. Chen Lin nodded, looked at the special cyber-style machine in his hand, and entered his student ID. After a successful identity verification, his basic information popped up. Next to her, Su Qingqing, who was about to secretly remember his student ID and add friends, was stunned when she saw the series of 0 credits. 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, 100,000. Brother Chen Lin, how come you have so many credits? Su Qingqing's eyes were filled with disbelief. 100,000 credits are enough to afford even a forbidden weapon. The quality of equipment is divided into ordinary, high quality, extremely high quality, virtual equipment, forbidden equipment, and life equipment. From now on, she will not have the corresponding authority to know. Chen Lin smiled. This was probably a benefit from Skylark Academy. The treatment for the number 1 scholar is also very good. Su Qingqing looked complicated. Even if she saves for 4 years, she may not be able to have 100,000 credits. This gap is too big. However, it is right to think about it. The meaning represented by the word, no. 1 scholar, can surpass millions of people in a province. Naturally, it is impossible not to pay attention to the true top genius. Skylark Academy is very large, and the two of them walked for about 10 minutes before reaching the dormitory. Looking at the single-family suite in front of her, Su Qingqing said, Junior Chen Lin, this is your dormitory. If I have nothing to do, I'll leave first. By the way, Yunhua's education policy has always been to be strong and strong, so that there is pressure to progress, so Junior Chen Lin, your dorm mate will definitely not be an ordinary person. Chen Lin nodded, watched her wave and leave, and turned around to enter his residence for the next 4 years. The living room is very spacious and fully furnished. A large LCD TV is placed in the middle. There are a total of 4 rooms on the upper and lower floors. No one else had arrived yet, so Chen Lin randomly chose a room and went in. It was as clean as new and had all kinds of facilities and daily necessities. After thinking that there was nothing to do, he took out the Tianquan sword staff from the storage ring and began to practice basic sword skills. After changing jobs, it is equivalent to breaking through physical limitations. Just like embarking on training, in fact, continuous exercise every day can improve the strength, physique, and agility attributes. However, the speed is negligible, far less fast than gaining experience and upgrading. Therefore, it is basically impossible to close the gap based on this. But when skills reach a certain level, they can be turned into skills. Chen Lin is now trying in this direction. What's more, practicing basic swordsmanship is of great help in combat. Relying too much on skills and neglecting yourself can easily fall into a big pit. A few hours later, the special machine suddenly vibrated. Chen Lin immediately stopped and glanced at the lit screen, which indicated that personal belongings had been delivered downstairs. At the same time, a message appeared. Your summoning materials have been approved. If you need any other resources, I will try my best to help you apply. Finally, I would like to ask you to try your best to improve your strength. After finishing her speech, concubine Ji leaned on the soft seat. Are you so optimistic about him? Zhang Wuyu was a little puzzled. Obviously we have enough resources to recruit 4 provincial champions. This is an opportunity for Skylark Academy to get out of the bottom place, but you spent too much on him. The total value of those summoning materials is tens of thousands of credits, and the unlimited resources are the highest level treatment. There are also 100,000 credits. These far exceed the value of Chen Lin himself. Even if he has the highest score in the National College entrance examination, that monster who has awakened his Sss-Level talent may still be tempted when faced with these conditions. Concubine Ji, with all due respect, he, himself is completely unmatched by what we have given him. No matter where you are, strength will always speak for itself, and what you value deserves what kind of treatment you deserve. Obviously, Zhang Wuyu did not think that Chen Lin was qualified to enjoy such high privileges from Yunque Academy. Have you ever watched his college entrance examination video? Certainly, don't you think that Chen Lin's summoned object is growing too fast? Concubine Ji asked. Are you trying to say that his summoned talent exceeds our estimated S-level? Zhang Wuyu frowned and said with certainty in her voice, this is absolutely impossible. There is no chance of summoning a top-notch summoned object with just one spin. The reason why it can grow rapidly and its combat power improves by leaps and bounds, we have already analyzed, is that it loses its upper limit in exchange for its early growth talent. In other words, he will only be weaker in the future, and there is a high possibility that he will be caught up by the others. Concubine G looked at her with a smile and said, "Tomorrow there will be a freshman competition, and you will find out by then." Seeing the expression on her face, Zhang Wuyu suddenly understood. As a friend who has been with her since childhood, she knows very well what kind of character Concubine Ji is. She didn't have any solid evidence to believe Chen Lin, she was just betting based on intuition. Zhang Wuyu frowned deeply and was very resistant to this kind of behavior. When the results come out tomorrow, even if the governor is your mother, you will inevitably be punished. After placing the summoning materials on the floor, Chen Lin stretched out a hand and opened it in the void. With the use of the summoning technique, formation patterns instantly appeared on his palm. Immediately afterwards, mana surged out and began to carve mysterious runes on the floor. At the moment of completion, the room was filled with white light, like a dozen flash bombs exploding at the same time. Fortunately, Chen Lin had experience and closed his eyes tightly in advance. After about a few minutes, he opened his eyes, and what he saw was a 60-centimeter silver butterfly with 2 pairs of wings. No, he's old, weak, sick and disabled again, right? Chen Lin's mouth twitched slightly and he silently checked its panel. Summon. Unnamed. Type. Silver butterfly. Level. 10. Attributes. Strength 1, Constitution 1, Agility 1, Magic 1. Health. 100%. Skills. None. Talent. None. All attributes are only 4 points, which is weaker than Haiming at the beginning, and it is still a level 10 panel. Chen Lin shook his head. This has refreshed the lower limit of the weakest known summons. But it doesn't matter, I will give you the potential of long-term. Looking at the silver dish that was flapping its wings and slowly flying towards him, Chen Lin stretched out his fingers to catch it. Detection starts. 100% loyalty, never betray, do you want to make a natal connection? As Chen Lin was confirmed, his soul was torn apart instantly, and severe pain came from the depths and lasted for a long time. The souls have been merged, and the connection of natal lives is completed. Congratulations, your summon has awakened its unique talent, all-changing divine transformation SSS. Hearing the sound and feeling that there was nothing wrong with his body, Chen Lin let out a long sigh of relief. His thoughts moved slightly. All transformations SSS transform into any form and gain different abilities. I don't understand why. Until the silver plate turned into silver light and turned into Chen Lin's appearance, he said in a dull voice, Master. Man. Exclamation mark. After a preliminary understanding, Chen Lin finally realized the power of the Wanhua divine transformation. Suddenly, his mind brightened, and he spent hundreds of credits on a special machine to buy a set of ordinary quality armor. Since the store is right at Hibari Academy, I didn't have to wait long to get there. Chen Lin opened the box and found pieces of armor parts inside. He pointed at Yindi and began to communicate with his thoughts at the same time. After the souls merged, an invisible connection was created that allowed Chen Lin to overcome language barriers and directly convey his meaning. Yin Dai gently nods, and turns into silver light to wrap around Chen Lin's arm. In an instant, the silver armor appeared bit by bit, slowly covering his whole body. Chen Lin felt it carefully and found no discomfort or weight at all, as if the armor was originally a part of his body. After walking to the mirror and looking at it for a while, Chen Lin looked satisfied. The overall streamlined appearance is very clear, and the whole body is silvery white with black lines. It looks simply hard to put down. Sure enough, battle armor is the ultimate romance for men. It's just that the defense was a bit too weak. Chen Lin clenched his fists and frowned slightly. Soon, a voice came from Silver Butterfly, which roughly meant that when it was in its armor form, it had the ability to increase its hardness by fusing metals, ores and other substances. At the same time, there is a slight probability of obtaining its characteristics. And after changing into other forms, it can still be preserved, but the ability will change. In other words, the hardness after fusion of matter in the armor form will not disappear when it changes into other forms, but will continue. There is no doubt that, like greed and gluttony, it is a perverted talent that has no upper limit and can keep getting stronger. Chen Lin couldn't wait to pick up the battle armor he bought and let Silver Butterfly fuse with it. Suddenly, it opened a hole and melted the armor into its body. Chen Lin quickly felt that Silver Butterfly had become significantly harder. Good. Defense has always been his weakness. Facing a powerful attack, he may die in an instant. For example, Su Linzu's 10,000 Frosts Annihilation has such a large range and terrifying power that not even He Ming can protect it. Now I have finally made up for this problem. As long as I feed the silver plate, I can even become a reckless man and charge. Thinking of this, Chen Lin decided on the direction and started practicing Yindai first. He sent a message to concubine Ji, asking for gold and stone materials with special characteristics. The more the better, and she quickly replied with, "Okay." In just half an hour, the item arrival notification came. Chen Lin sighed at the efficiency of Yunk Academy, which was really fast. While thinking about it, he had already arrived at the door, and a man in black clothes was waiting upright. "Classmate, this is your list." Chen Lin took it and took a look, a little surprised. They are all rare metal minerals with different properties. The familiar black gold stone can add several thousand kilograms of weight to a weapon, but it is expensive, costing hundreds of thousands. Moreover, this is a resource controlled by the military and ordinary professionals cannot buy it at all. There are also broken steel stones, which can enhance the sharpness and increase the lethality. Each of them belongs to the ranks of precious resources, with a total value of tens of millions. It can only be said that top universities are indeed rich and wealthy. The man in black reminded, "Student, please do not remove these electromagnetic anti-gravity devices, otherwise the building will collapse." Hearing this, Chen Lin nodded and carried a large box of several meters on his back. Suddenly he felt a heavy burden. Even with the electromagnetic anti-gravity device for levitation and his 90 points of strength, his feet couldn't help but bend slightly. Back in the room, Chen Lin began to fuse the silver plates, not even the stone belt boxes. Soon, the armor covering the body became extremely hard, and even a second-level professional might not be able to break through the defense. At the same time, the weight of the armor reached 5 tons, which had no effect on Chen Lin, but if it fell on the enemy, it would be overwhelming. It is also blessed with sharp characteristics, which greatly improves its lethality. Pulling out the sword on his back, which was part of the armor, Chen Lin communicated with his mind, and the sword instantly turned into a spear. Good. This is very consistent with Chen Lin's imagination of life armor. The next day, Chen Lin got up on time, practiced some basic sword skills, then washed up and went downstairs. In the living room, the 3 young men who heard the noise seemed a little surprised. Obviously, they all know Chen Lin. After all, the name of the number 1 pick has been widely circulated on almost the entire internet, and it is still popular so far. However, I didn't pay too much attention to it, because they themselves were not bad either. "Hello, the second in Qingyuan province, Feng Yi." Chen Lin nodded politely. Chen Lin. With an ordinary profession, no one has achieved such a result as the provincial champion, not only now, but also before. It's amazing. HMPH, isn't it just because I was lucky enough to get a powerful summon? The man with an indifferent expression had a somewhat disdainful tone. He was the second person in Longxi province with a score of 23,000 in the college entrance examination, so he looked down on Chen Lin, the top scholar in Dongtian, at all. It's just that he happened to be first in a province without top talent. In his opinion, it was like having no tigers and monkeys in the mountains to claim the title of king. What you're saying is that being good at other people's summons is due to luck, but your ability to awaken SS-level talents is due to your strength, right? In my opinion, luck should be called an established fact. Feng Yi smiled lightly. Besides, the summoning technique is not mandatory. Having powerful summons respond to summons is enough to show that there is something special about Chen Lin. They were about to argue, but at this moment, a voice spread throughout the school. "All new students, bring weapons and equipment, and gather at Skylark Square immediately." "The freshman competition should have started half a month early," said the man sitting on the sofa, pushing up his glasses. "Sao Yang, how do you know?" Feng Yi was a little confused. In the past few years, there have been more and more mutant beasts outside the city, and many places have even been classified as restricted areas. All countries are sending combat forces to the front lines to resist the eager alien races, and there is simply no manpower available to clean up the mutant beasts. But if this continues, we won't have to wait for the aliens to launch a large-scale attack, but we will face internal turmoil first. Feng Yi frowned deeply. You mean, the school plans to let us take on the task of cleaning up the mutant beasts? Yes, the human race no longer has time to continue cultivating talents according to the rules. There is no doubt that fighting mutant beasts in advance is not like quitting when encountering danger in the dungeon. The chance of death will be very high. So, if you want to develop safely, it's best not to show off in this freshman competition. Squeeze your rankings and refuse to clean up the mutant beasts when the time comes. The school will not force you. After hearing these words, Chen Lin fell silent. Is the situation already serious enough? He suddenly remembered the world in the transferred copy, where countless people died due to disasters, and only a few survivors were left hanging on. Unexpectedly, Blue Star would face the same crisis so soon. Thinking silently, suddenly the arrogant voice of a cold man came to his ears. It's just right in advance, Chen Lin, I will compare you fiercely and prove that I am more worthy of being the number one pick than you. Seeing his arrogant look, Chen Lin smiled and said, okay, let's decide who is the best, but I will definitely push everyone down. He wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. He didn't want his mother and sister to die at the hands of aliens and mutant beasts one day. Hey, there's me too, don't let me outshine you later. Seeing the three people fighting each other with no fear on their faces, the corners of Cao Yang's mouth raised slightly. In Skylark Square, new students gathered one after another, holding different weapons and equipment in their hands. Somewhat noisy. In an open space, two girls with similar looks stood tall and graceful. One was wearing a black tights, and her figure looked extremely proud and heroic against the dark gold armor. The other one was wearing a white robe, looking delicate and charming. Looking at it again, it's still so amazing. If we can capture these twins together, wouldn't we be able to gallop forward? You kid, you have a single ponytail in each hand, insert one and change it, right? 66, you two have such dirty thoughts. Several students who were far away were arming themselves and communicating. Soon, more than a dozen tutors and governors arrived one after another and stood on the platform. Announce it. The governor sighed. She was more emotional and thought it would be too cruel to conceal the truth to these students. Those who rank in the top 100 must be forced to go outside the city to clean up the mutant beasts, and grow rapidly under the pressure of death. Not to mention the old students, they basically need them. After all, they are at the second level at the lowest level and are the real main force. The secretary behind him nodded, held the tablet and said, the freshman competition in half a month will be held now. You are going to enter the large level 20 to 30 dungeon, the Rift Canyon. This freshman competition will determine your future allocation of resources. The top 100 students will receive a direct reward of 5,000, approximately 50,000 credits. After she made the announcement, the door to the dungeon slowly opened, and her aura suddenly came out, sweeping the entire place. Some people's legs and feet were weak and their lips trembled slightly. You're kidding, I haven't turned around yet. How to fight? There is strength in numbers, so form a full team. Chen Lin stood in an inconspicuous corner and waited calmly, while Luo Zhan trotted over with a girl with short hair and gray eyes, Brother Lin. Looking at them, Chen Lin pointed at the girl and asked, this is it? My sister, Luo Ning. Chen Lin paused for a moment. You kid wouldn't want to give your sister a leg hug, would you? Hello. Seeing Chen Lin pointing his finger over, Luo Ning timidly hid behind her brother and spoke in a very low tone. Being so shy and afraid of strangers, Chen Lin smiled. Seeing that the disaster copy Luo Zhan had blocked more than a dozen fatal attacks from the sword demon before, it was no problem to help them upgrade a few levels. I have to explain in advance that if you join a team with me, your ranking will be very high, and there may be dangerous forced activities. Luo Zhan scratched his head. It's okay. We, Dunwu, need to be in danger no matter what the situation is, unless we have Dad to protect us. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.